NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. And we're on the shoot around, ladies and gentlemen. And today, we're going to talk about the best point guard options for the New York Knicks. And there's plenty. And a lot of it depends on what does the front office think about this current team. That's first and foremost. What does the front office think? Are they ready to move forward? Do they think we still need to grow and build? We want the slow build? It's a lot to think about for Leon Rose in the front office, ladies and gentlemen. And there's options out there for the New York Knicks, and we're going to talk about these options. And before I do that, though, I do want to say to you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Ring that notification bell. You'll be notified anytime I go live, drop a video, or post in my community section. And if you're not on Newsbreak and you like local news, then you need to get on Newsbreak. The link is in the description of this video, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be having exclusive content on Newsbreak. Now, give me a second. Let me adjust my microphone because it's falling all over the place. All right. Think I got it there now. And one more announcement before I get started. The draft party tickets are available. If you want to be a VIP at the draft party, make sure you get your tickets now because they're on the move. Trust me. I'm going to put the link in the chat shortly. And as soon as I put the link in the chat, I'll let you know. But let's go ahead and get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's break it down. Let's talk about the best point guards for the New York Knicks. Because like I said earlier, point guard is the #1 priority for the New York Knicks. It is the #1 priority this offseason. And you want to know why? And this just kind of hit me, ladies and gentlemen. The Knicks only have one point guard under contract. One. That's Luca Vildos. You know, people, they think about Derrick Rose and talk about Derrick Rose as if he's under contract. But he's not under contract. Derrick Rose is a free agent. The only point guard the Knicks have under contract is Luca Vildos, and that's a non-guaranteed contract. Now, of course, the Knicks have control over the contract. They can decide whether or not they want to guarantee it or not. It's the only point guard under contract. And even that's a non-guaranteed contract. So the Knicks have nothing at the point guard spot. Let's talk about what the Knicks have at the point guard spot. Because there's a couple of options, a couple of routes that the Knicks can take to fill the point guard spot. One is the point guards that they have under contract. And as I just said, that's Luca Vildos. That's it. We'll talk about that in a second. They can look at the free agent market. See if there's anything on the free agent market that fits the bill for the New York Knicks. They can look at the trade market. There's some potential trades out there. You know who the big guy is, and I'm sure that's the Knicks' #1 target. But there's some other guys out there that the Knicks may be discussing. And then, of course, you got the draft. To me, for the New York Knicks, the draft is the last option to find your lead point guard. I know there are people that disagree with me and feel like the Knicks need to, just continue to build through the draft. But the timeline for this team, in my opinion, has been expedited. And so building through the draft, to me, isn't the best option. But we're going to get into it. Let's talk about the guards we have under contract, and then we'll move on with the rest of everybody else. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to give you a chance to call in. Feel free to jump on and call in. 516-405-2246, ladies and gentlemen. And we can have this conversation. And there's the phone number right there. So the guards we have under contract, Luca Vildos, as I said. And the only reason I have Frank Nilokina up here is because Frank, while he's not under contract, he's still under the Knicks' control. Let's just say that. Because the Knicks have the ability to offer or extend a qualifying offer. And if they do so, Frank Nilokina will either accept the offer, or if he turns it down, he'll be a restricted free agent, and the Knicks will be able to match any offer that comes his way. Right? So while he's not under contract, the Knicks control Frank Nilokina's future at the moment. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not comfortable with either one of these guys as the starting point guard coming into next season. There's no way that I'm comfortable with either one of them. No knock on Luca Vildos. I just don't know about the guy. I'll learn more. We will all learn more throughout the Olympics and those type of things. But I'm just not comfortable with saying we're going to go into the season with Luca Vildos as our starting point guard. I just don't know enough. And I don't think Tom Thibodeau or the coaching staff or anybody else knows enough about him to say he's going to be the starting point guard. You got to see him play against NBA competition. That's the only way to really find out if this guy is legit. I hear people say, well, he's definitely a backup. We don't know that. He may be the starter. We might find that out. We don't know what he is yet as it pertains to the NBA. So I'm not comfortable just jumping right out and saying this guy is going to be my point guard going into the 2021-2022 season. That's not happening for me. And then, of course, there's Frank Nilokina. Frank Nilokina is still young. There's no doubt about it. But I'm definitely not comfortable with Frank coming into the season as a starting point guard. Would I like to have Frank back on this team? Yes, I would. I love that he's a defender. I love that he's a hard worker. I love that he was able to I don't even know what I want to that he was able to improve his jump shot. Worked hard at it. And he continues to work. And he's going to get better as a basketball player. And I think he has a role in this league as a 3-and-D guy. And a guy who can, from time to time, man the point guard spot if your starting point guard is out. Or that's just a rotation that you have in place where every once in a while he facilitates for you. I don't think he's your full-time point guard. I don't know that he's going to grow to be a full-time point guard in the NBA. He may be best suited as a 3-and-D guy, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. So I definitely wouldn't be comfortable with having him back as a starting point guard. And if we have the two of them, I'm not comfortable either. If these are the two guys that they say, we're going to run it back with these guys as our point guards, you can't even say run it back with Luca because he hasn't suited up in the Knicks uniform yet. So you see, the Knicks are void at that point guard spot. We have nobody for the most part, in my opinion, because Luca Vildos, he's just an X factor. He's the unknown right now. Now remember, Frank Nilokina, the Knicks, they can extend him a qualifying offer. I don't think that they will. I believe that they will renounce his rights so that they can free up that money, which gives them more flexibility on the free agent market, the trade market, so on and so forth. Now, I don't think that means, that doesn't, to me, it doesn't definitely mean that Frank Nilokina will not be back. It just means that they'll renounce his rights, and then if they can work out a contract that is suitable to him, suitable to the team, then maybe he'll be back. If not, he'll find a spot someplace in the NBA. So that's the first option for the Knicks, and it's not a good one in my opinion. Now let's talk about the next option. Because with the next option, it's going to be a lot of them. We're talking about free agency. Free agent point guards. You see 5 of them up on the screen. We're going to talk about each one of them. Talk about Chris Paul first. Right now, Chris Paul, he's with the Phoenix Suns. And they are on the verge of going to the NBA Finals. And a lot of that, I would probably say most of that, is due to Chris Paul and what he brought to that team. The Phoenix Suns, while they were getting better and they had a lot of pieces, at the end of last season, they made the bubble. They didn't make the playoffs. They got hot in the bubble, though. Surprised a lot of people. They got hot. And they felt like if they added Chris Paul, they could take another step. I don't know if they thought they were going to be a championship level team. I don't know if they thought they were going to the NBA Finals, which they're on the verge of right now. They lost last night to the Los Angeles Clippers. But they're up 3-2 in that series. There's a good chance that they're going to win another game and go to the NBA Finals. Chris Paul's leadership, his feistiness, his defense, his basketball IQ is what has elevated the Phoenix Suns to championship level. Chris Paul has a player option for this season, and a hefty one at that. Chris Paul is due to make $40 million this next season. The rumors are that Chris Paul is going to opt out of that contract and search out, a 3-year deal, $20 million a year or something like that. The question is, how many teams will pay Chris Paul $20 million a year for the next 3 years? Chris Paul's 36 years old. He's 36. He'll be 39 at the end of that 3-year deal. And probably ready to retire. I tend to believe, especially if the Phoenix Suns go to the NBA Finals this year, they're going to re-sign Chris Paul. They would almost have no choice, in my opinion, but to re-sign Chris Paul. I mean, how do you, if you're the Phoenix Suns, how do you decide, well, yeah, he helped us get to the NBA Finals, assuming that they get to the NBA Finals, and then, we're just going to let him go. I just don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that. It wouldn't be smart. Right? So, if Chris Paul opts out, I think the Phoenix Suns have to re-sign him. Especially if they don't win the championship. If they do not win the finals, they got to bring him back to try to win and try to get, try to win the championship. Next guy on the list, Mike Conley. All right, Mike Conley's been around for a while. Like a lot of these guys on this list that you see here. He's helped the Utah Jazz become a championship contender. Obviously, this season they got eliminated in the second round. They probably had higher expectations. But he was a big part of the reason. It was a big part of the Utah Jazz and the reason that they were as good as they were. Now, obviously, they need more pieces so that they can possibly make an NBA Finals. Mike Conley's 33 years old. He's a leader. He's a defender. He can score the basketball when need be. I mean, Yeah, he finally made an all-star team. He's been one of the best point guards, one of the best players in the league to not make an all-star team. Right? And finally, he makes one. He's going to be an option out there. He made $30 million this season. I don't know what he's worth on the market. You know, that's a big question. And the Utah Jazz, they'll have to figure out if he's worth bringing back. I think they will believe that he's worth bringing back. But how much would the Knicks be willing to pay someone like Mike Conley? If they entered into negotiations with Mike Conley? That's a good question, I think. Mike Conley's a good player. And he would elevate this team. I don't know if he would elevate the team. I think so. You know, does he push them to, top, do they remain a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference? I would argue that the Knicks are not a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference right now. I know their record said so. But when you look at what happened in Atlanta, you can argue that if Atlanta was healthy all season long, they probably would have been a top 4 team, and maybe the Knicks would have been the 5th seed. Does he elevate the Knicks into that category? I don't know. I think Chris Paul does. And would the Knicks offer Chris Paul $20 million a year for 3 years? It's a good question. Leon Rose may believe in that guy so much because he knows him so well that he says, yeah, I will. And we do have some panelists here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get to them as soon as I finish the point guard segment here, the free agent segment here. And then you got Kyle Lowry, okay, championship point guard. As a matter of fact, it's the only guy on this list to win a championship. It's the only guy on this list to go to the NBA Finals. He's a good point guard. He's tough. I think he fits everything that the New York Knicks are doing right now. He can shoot it from the outside. He can score. He's a leader. He'll bring that toughness with him to the court. I believe that he and Tom Thibodeau would get along. And Tom Thibodeau may be exactly what Kyle Lowry needs to finish off the rest of his career. You know, that coach that can give you a kick in the ass every once in a while. That's what Tom Thibodeau is. I know there's a lot of people that, these old point guards. Let's get rid of these old point guards. But you know what? Sorry to say, these old point guards are winning right now. These old point guards are winning. They're doing work. Trae Young, he's not old, but, these old point guards, they know how to get it done. They know what it takes. Kyle Lowry, ladies and gentlemen, he's 35 years old. He made $30 million this past season. What would he be worth on the market? It's a good question. What would the Knicks be willing to pay? It's also a good question. But I think he's going to be an option for the New York Knicks as they search for their answer at point guard. I think Kyle Lowry is going to be right there. He'll be right there. Another guy on the list, Lonzo Ball. And there's obviously a lot of talk on whether or not Lonzo Ball is a point guard. Can you run plays through him? I think you can. Some people say no, I think you can. People say he doesn't penetrate enough to the basket. Do you need to penetrate from your point guard spot? Can you penetrate from other areas on the floor? Can your point guard just be the guy who leads the team, leads the troops in the battle? Is the coach's voice on the floor? So does your point guard have to be the guy who penetrates? Can it be from somebody else? And I'll say this. I don't think Lonzo Ball does not have the ability to penetrate to the basket. I think it's the way that he plays, the style of basketball that he plays. He's a pass-first point guard without a doubt. He looks to get the ball up the floor. Right? He's passing that ball up the sideline. He's finding the open man. So sometimes he may not have those possessions to penetrate because he's not the kind of point guard that's going to just pound the basketball and make everything just go through him. He could be, but that's not how he plays basketball. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I like it when the ball moves. I like it when you push the ball up the floor. And he can shoot. He can knock it down from three. He's done it his last 2 years. Shot about 38% from the three-point line. I know there's some people out there that say, I don't believe in him yet. I need to see it some more. I mean, it's there. The numbers are there. As a matter of fact, this season, he didn't start off shooting too well from the three-point line. He still ended up shooting 38% from the three-point line. So there you go. You got Lonzo Ball, who's an option. You got Dennis Schroeder, who's going to be an option out there, ladies and gentlemen. Dennis Schroeder's going to be an option for the Knicks. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that ask, is he a starting point guard? I tell you what, he's better than any point guard we have on the team right now, which is zero. Well, one. I'm sorry, Luca Vildos. And he's probably better than any starting point guard we had last season. Not probably, he is. He may be the cheapest on this list. So if there are people out there who are still looking to say, well, I don't want an old point guard, I want a young point guard, then maybe Dennis Schroeder is a very good stopgap for you. If that's the route that the New York Knicks are going to take. He might be a good stopgap. He can score the basketball. He can shoot it. You know, he may not have the highest clip, but he can shoot it. There's questions, in my opinion, about his leadership, his ability to just be that leader. Like Chris Paul's a leader, Mike Conley a leader, Kyle Lowry is a leader. I think Dennis Schroeder, maybe there's some question there on whether or not he's that type of leader. But if you're looking for a stopgap, I think he'd get it done until you found that point guard that you're looking for. If you're going to look for somebody younger. I don't know how much he's worth on the market. I'm not sure how much he's worth. Dennis Schroeder this season made $17.5 million. I actually thought there was a chance that Dennis Schroeder was going to end up a Knick this year. The Los Angeles Lakers, I believe that they wanted to make a push for Kyle Lowry. And because the Knicks had the cap flexibility, I thought because of Kyle Lowry's salary, he made $30 million last year. I thought the Knicks were going to kind of be that person who could, that team that could move that contract, that deal along by absorbing Dennis Schroeder's contract. And maybe even receiving a draft pick or something like that in return, and then Kyle Lowry go to the Lakers. I thought something like that was, you know, I believe the Knicks were in contact with Toronto about doing just that. And the Lakers, but obviously it didn't happen. Kyle Lowry remained in Toronto, and you see what happened with the Los Angeles Lakers. At $17.5 million, I mean, that would have fit perfectly into the amount of money that the Knicks had left over. Didn't happen. He's going to be on a free agent market. I think he probably makes around the same amount of money, maybe a little bit less. And that might be good for the Knicks. He's 28 years old, been in the league for 8 years. He's unrestricted this season. We'll see what they decide to do if they even think about Dennis Schroeder, but I think he'll be someone that they decide to talk to if something doesn't happen before then. I got a whole nother set of free agent point guards to talk about, but I want to get over here to the panel. See what everybody thinks about just this group right here. Then we'll get on to another group of free agent point guards that will be available to the New York Knicks. Because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this. There's a lot happening for the New York Knicks this season, ladies and gentlemen. And before I switch over to the panel, I just want to remind you, please, if you're new to the channel, you like what we're talking about, subscribe. Ring that notification bell. You'll be notified anytime I go live, drop a video, or post to my community section. And I'm bringing them over right now, and then I'm going to get a link to that draft party in the chat so you can go ahead and get your tickets right now. And, of course, the phone lines are open, 516-405-2246. Steph, what's going on with you? How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, Sam. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sounds good.
Yeah, I had to upgrade. Yeah, I feel pretty good, Sam. You know, I'm down in Georgia now. I miss being on the panel, so I was happy when I saw the show popped up today. And I'll be back Friday with the Queen's Court. I missed that last week, and I miss doing that. So as I always say, I appreciate you for that opportunity. And I'm looking forward to talking about these 5 guys you have up here.
Yeah. All right. Let me get to Nate, and then we can get around and talk about it. Nate, what's going on, man?
What's up, Sam? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How you feeling?
Good, man. A lot of moving and shaking in the NBA. Another big name player might be on the move or want to be on the move. So yeah, it's gonna add more craziness to this offseason.
Yeah, it's gonna be some shakeups around the league. That's without a doubt. There's no doubt about that. It's gonna be a lot of shakeups around the league. Real quick before we get to the free agents, are either one of you comfortable with Luca Vildos or Frank Nilokina, one or both, coming in as our point guards next year?
Not at all.
You know how I feel about Frank. 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah,
So you would consider one or both of those guys coming in as your lead guards next year?
Yeah, because I'll tell you why. Because honestly, I mean, it's a tough situation because the Knicks, they're going to be stuck with either overpaying a point guard that's, let's be honest, is probably not that good unless it's Kyle Lowry, or they just ride with who they have now, or draft the guy and take a guy in the draft and build that guy and just kind of see what happens in the next free agency class. I mean, this next free agent class coming up is going to be better than this one. So, I mean, I don't know what the point guards look like as far as who's going to be available, but I know it's going to be a better free agent class than this one is. So I think, you know, if you can get something decent out of the point guards, I mean, I think you'd be okay. I mean, the Knicks went to the 4th seed without a point guard really until they got Derrick Rose. I mean, I'd definitely bring back Derrick Rose for sure. I mean,
yeah, well, that's no guarantee for sure too. You know what I mean?
Like bring back Derrick Rose?
It's not a guarantee. I mean, I think he will be back, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah. But but you asked me the question: would you be okay with playing Luca or Frank? Yeah, if you bring back Derrick Rose. If you don't bring back Derrick Rose,
but listen,
no.
But this is the thing. Here's what I'm talking about. The Knicks have no control over what Derrick Rose does. They have control over both of these guys. So these are the guys that they have on the roster right now. And Frank Nilokina is not even really on the roster. It's just the Knicks can give him a qualifying offer and make him a restricted free agent. All right, Luca Vildos is basically the only guy that they have on the roster. So when I say, are you okay with coming back with these two guys? I'm saying they crapped out and they got these two guys. Would you be okay with that? I would not.
If you bring back Derrick Rose, yes.
I would not be okay with that.
Not at all. Not at all, Sim. Under no circumstance, if they decide to move to stick with Randall, or even if they decide to move on from Randall, under no circumstances can you go into the season with Luca and Frank as the potential starting point.
But wait, if they move Randall, then that means that they're rebuilding again.
Even if you're rebuilding, we don't know who Luca is, and we know who Frank is. It's
But
not
what's the
enough.
risk? But what's the risk if we move Randall and we're rebuilding? I mean, you got to see what this guy has.
I'm gonna
If
say
you
this.
re-
I'm
who
gonna say
has
this.
Frank? We know what Frank has.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna say
But
this.
Frank, we're not talking about Frank, we're talking about Luka.
If we move Randall, I don't think it means we're rebuilding. I think it means we got a star.
Yeah,
We're not
right.
rebuilding.
You're
If we
right.
move Randall, Damian
Right,
Lillard is
right.
coming or something like that.
Right.
If we move Randall, right? So I don't think it means we're rebuilding just because we move Randall. I think it means that a bigger star
makes sense.
is coming in. Josh, what's going on?
Salute, everyone. Good to see you guys again. Always great talking basketball with you guys, talking about the Knicks. Just wanted to chime in on this topic because I know point guard is very, very important to a lot of Knicks fans. And I seen the list that Sim put up there, those 5 free agent point guards.
I got more.
Yeah, there's more. I'm not sure if now is the time for me to pick out of that list who I want or just, introduce.
Well, I mean, right now we were talking about, would you be happy with those two guys coming back as your point guards? I'm going to assume no. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that list. All right.
Thanks.
Instead of belaboring that point, let's go ahead and let's talk about that list. The first guy on the list was Chris Paul. And we'll make it quick because there's a lot of guys to talk about tonight.
Oh, you're asking me about Chris Paul?
Yeah. I'm asking you about Chris Paul.
Listen, I wanted Chris Paul last season, and a lot of people were like, no, we got to save the money. We got to continue to build. I think if Chris Paul can take Phoenix over the top, I think this Knicks team currently, or the one from this past season, is better than the Phoenix Suns from the year prior to that. So I think if Chris Paul can take them to the NBA Finals, I think Chris Paul can definitely take us to the NBA Finals. So I definitely am all on board for Chris Paul. However, I don't think he's going to opt out of $40 million to choose for $20 million per season. I just don't see that happening.
Well, I think he might. If you're talking about, you got to break down the money, right? Because you can say, okay, I'm getting $40 million for one season, but I think he may have Phoenix kind of by the toe, especially since they went from not making the playoffs to on the verge of going to the NBA Finals, and he is the big piece that really brought them along. He has the leverage, right? So if he says, I want 3 years, $20 million, they almost don't have a choice right now because especially if they don't win it, they gotta run it back and try to win it. And I don't think they will have as good of a chance without Chris Paul. So if he could say, let's say he finishes his contract out, he plays next season. Phoenix, they win or they don't win. Does he still get $20 million a year for the next 2 years? Or maybe is a team like, we'll give you 15. Right? And so that,
Well, Sam, I just feel like Chris Paul can command $15 million from almost every team in the NBA if they can afford it, obviously. Easily $15 million, if not 20, easily. I just feel like, as far as I know about players and, they want their money, $40 million is a lot of money, and not a lot of teams have $40 million to give. So I personally see, no matter whether Phoenix wins the championship or not, I still see Chris Paul coming back next season, taking his $40 million, and then even going in the free agency next season to go get $20 million a year, because I think next year he can still command that.
But what I'm saying, if he can lock down a deal, let's say he can lock down 4 years, $20 million a year. And then he's ready to retire. 4 years, $20 million a year, that's $80 million. He can get 40 in one season, but then after that, he's got 3 years of $15 million, say. That's a little bit less money. You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about the amount of years and the fact that he's injury prone, it makes sense for him to try to lock down a longer term contract. And because the money is guaranteed, once he signs that contract, he's getting that money. And I think that might be where his mindset is. Not the $40 million this year, but maybe I can get $80 million over 4 years, and that's guaranteed. So I think that's where, he's probably thinking. And would the Knicks give it to him? I don't know.
$15 million easily, no problem, easily, no question.
I mean, I get that. I'm just saying, him knowing his history of injury may feel like, you know what, I'm getting older. If I pull an Achilles, or anything like that, I'm probably not going to get this money. So I'm going to lock down these next 3 to 4 years, make sure I'm getting paid, and then I'll ride off into the sunset after my last year of that deal. I think that's probably where his mindset is. Steph, you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving Phoenix, but even if he did, I would not sign Chris Paul. And part of it is don't get me wrong, I absolutely like him. I just don't think the Knicks are as situated as Phoenix was when he got there. 60% of our rotation is not under contract. We have no idea what kind of team we're going to have next year. So it's hard to say, you can't just drop Chris Paul on the Orlando Magic, for example, and expect that, you're going to go to the finals. And I just think the Knicks roster right now is not stable. We don't know who's on it. So I'm not sure he's going to make that type of difference on the team, plus his age, plus he's injury prone. At some point, at some point he's going to start declining. And I think that, we're taking a risk signing him to a 3 or 4 year contract. So I would say no to Chris Paul.
What do you guys think about?
It has nothing to do with how I feel about him.
Yeah. What do you guys think about Mike Conley?
I was very bullish on Mike Conley last season, but I just think he's the injury prone. Out of that entire list that you put up there, Michael Conley's always injured, forever injured. If you can look throughout the games played throughout his entire career, in the season, in the regular season, and in the playoffs, this guy is always hurt. He's even hurt in that series of the last series the Jazz played in. So I would stay away from Mike Conley. He's not worth the money, in my opinion.
Okay, all right, Steph.
I agree.
The same thing. What about you, Nate?
Yeah, I agree. He just doesn't move. It's something about Mike Conley I don't have a problem with. He just doesn't move the needle for me. For whatever reason, I watch him play. He's a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not somebody that I watch and I'm like, wow, I really wish he was on the Knicks.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are a big issue for me with Mike Conley. I know he's played really well this year, but I think his best days are behind him. I mean, at the most, he could maybe be a stopgap for a young guy if we draft like maybe a Luca Vildos, or maybe if we draft somebody in the draft that we want to build. I mean, he could be an okay stopgap. I don't know. I'm one of the type of people that if we're going to go for an older point guard, there's only 2 guys that I really want to touch. It's either CP3 or Lowry. I don't want anybody else. Okay. In that case, I'd rather go for a younger point guard or somebody who's still, in their mid-20s or
you just said Derrick
20s.
Rose, though.
Well, yeah, but Derrick Rose, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to come back and be on the bench. I mean,
right.
I don't think he's going to be a starter.
Right.
But that's the 2 guys that I'm touching if I'm going to go and give money to an older point guard, Lowry or CP3.
Okay, so let's talk about Lowry then, right? Because Lowry is a guy that I would love to have on the team. I'm not going to lie. I like Kyle Lowry. I know he's 35 years old or whatever he is. I still think he has a lot left in the tank. And, you sign him, you bring him for, 2-3 seasons. Hopefully you're grooming a point guard behind him. And I think he can help elevate your team. And I believe he epitomizes what Tom Thibodeau is about. So Nate, how much would you pay Kyle Lowry?
How much would I pay him?
Yeah. Ooh, how much would you pay him?
What's he making right now?
30.
He made $30 million this year.
1 year contract.
Yeah.
So I think they had to overpay.
Yeah, if it's a 1 year contract, they probably would have to overpay. But I think Kyle Lowry is going to look for a multi-year deal because this might be his last deal in the NBA. And if I'm him, I'm looking for 3 to 4 years with somebody and then ride out.
I mean,
No, I mean the reason he made $30 million was probably because it was a 1 year.
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure. I think he had a multi-year contract. I'm not sure how long his deal was, but so this might have been the last year of a bigger contract. Could have been the last year of a bigger contract. So Nate, what would you pay?
No, it was a 1 year deal, Sim.
Oh, was it? Okay.
It was a 1 year deal.
Okay. All right, good.
I mean, so for me, Kyle Lowry, like I agree with you, man. He fits perfect with what Tibbs wants. He's a bulldog on defense. He's the guy who can make the shot. He can shoot the three. He's actually a better passer than people give him credit for. Good team player. I give him $25 million.
Give him $25 million for how many years?
3 years.
3 years, $25 million. What do you think about that, Steph? Would you give that Kyle Lowry?
I would if the last year was a team option.
Okay. I actually think he would accept that. I think he would take that. 3 years, $25 million a year. So 3 years, $75 million with a team option in the last year. I think he would take that. What do you think? What do you think, Josh? What's your thoughts on Kyle Lowry?
I agree with what Steph said. I would go a 2-on-1 type of deal with that 30 years an option. I think because he is a veteran player and he does have a little bit of pedigree around the league, I think that will be kind of a player option for him to be able to choose and select where he wants to go. So I think if we were to make that deal, that'd be the only concession. We'd have to make that last one a player option so he can choose to opt out, which I don't think will be necessarily a bad thing for us to take because let's say the Knicks are where we want them to be. He can choose to stick around for that $25 million, or if he feels like he can go somewhere else and win a championship, then he can opt out, and then that's still good for us as well because that's money off the books. So I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. I think I would 3 years, $75 million, $25 million a year. I think I would.
Probably what Toronto's going to pay him if they want to keep him.
What'd you say?
I said, I mean, if Toronto was going to keep him, that's probably what they would pay him. Right. I would imagine. I mean, he won a championship. I mean, he's a good player. He's heady. He's been pretty durable his whole career. I think that's one thing people don't talk about. Being 35 years old, he really hasn't sustained any massive injuries. So, I mean, and like I said, he fits perfectly with what Tibbs wants. I mean,
right.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to give him go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Toronto has a top pick in the draft, so they might be looking to go point guard and draft his heir apparent. So I don't know if he's going to stick around for that either and be like the bench guy training up the new rook, coming in the league. So that's also something we have to take into consideration.
Right. And I don't think he's staying in Toronto. I think he might be trying to get close to Philly. Right? He's from Philly. I don't know if he still lives there. He might still have a home there. He might be trying to get closer to home so he can prepare for retirement. I don't think, I think it's Philadelphia, or I think it's a team on the East Coast that maybe he goes to. Philadelphia might be one of his top choices, especially if Ben Simmons gets moved. Right, so that might be one of his top choices. Yeah, Miami's going to be in the play for point guards. Without a doubt.
Always has ways of,
Don't sleep on him.
Can't count him out.
Yeah. Lonzo Ball, the next guy. You know how I feel. I like Lonzo Ball. I think that Lonzo Ball can fit what we do. I like his court vision. I like his ability to push the ball up the floor. And I'm not talking dribble it up the floor. I mean pass the ball up the floor. He can shoot it. I like that he plays defense, and I think that he would work well with Tom Thibodeau. I think that he has the ability, while Julius Randle can get his, I think Lonzo Ball has the ability to create for other people that's on the floor, which obviously Alfred Payton wasn't able to do. Derrick Rose did it a little bit, especially with that second unit. I think Lonzo Ball could fit with this team. I don't know how much he's worth right now. He's a guy that, 14 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, 5 assists a game. Can he elevate those stats? I guess it's not just elevating his stats. Can he elevate his gameplay even a little bit more and continue to get better and better and better? He's a guy that's continuing to get better every season of his career. And him and Julius Randle are friends. They're buddies. I don't know how much, stock people take in that or care about it, but a lot of times that breeds chemistry. I don't know. Steph, what's your take on Lonzo Ball?
I like Lonzo Ball skill-wise. I think, you can't always see a player and how they play on one team and think that's the only way they can play. So to your point, Tim, when you was talking about him not getting to the basket, that doesn't mean he'll never be able, to get to the basket, or that'll never be a part of his game. The only issue I have is that if we sign Lonzo, then we're going to need a veteran at another spot. I just don't know if we need leadership as well. And I just think that he's young. He's ascending, in my opinion. He's coming into his own. It's not, so I don't mind him on the team. But if we get him at a point, we're going to have to get somebody else that's a veteran leadership that's preferably in the starting lineup, not just in the rotation. So just his ability to lead a team that's trying to get further than the first round, and he's never been in that position before, that's my only concern about signing him. Other than that, I like him.
And you know what? You know what I think? I think that with Lonzo Ball, because of his age, I think if the Knicks decide, if Leon Rose and those guys decide we're going to continue a slow and steady build, Lonzo Ball is going to be the guy. If they're looking to elevate themselves into the top 3 in the Eastern Conference, it's maybe not going to be Lonzo Ball. They're going to be looking at a Chris Paul or a trade for, a bigger name guy. So I think it's going to depend on where do they think they are right now. And obviously, if they might think we're going to go with a slow build, and then if something pops off, they're going to jump on that. You can always change course. But going into the free agency, where do the Knicks think they are in terms of contending? Where do they think their development is? And I think that's going to dictate.
Something else to that?
Definitely.
What I want to add to that is looking at the playoffs, you can see that the top 3, all of them have vulnerabilities. So I'm sure the Knicks front office can look at that and say, it's not, as hard as maybe we thought it would be to get to the Eastern Conference Finals or to get to the finals. All of those 3 teams in front of us have flaws, right? So we can maybe be aggressive. We're not that far behind. I think we might be. We 60% of our. But I mean, if they build a team, they may be thinking that, hey, we're not that far behind. Look what Atlanta did. So if we can get a good team together, we might be able to do the same. But you got to be aggressive, and you really have to load up on talent to do that.
Right. Josh?
So about Lonzo Ball, I think Lonzo Ball could be a good piece for this team, just not at the point guard position. I think if the Knicks were to bring Lonzo Ball, let's say hypothetically they bring him in and run the point guard, I still think you need to add another ball handler, preferably at the wing, because I don't feel like you can run plays through Lonzo Ball. He just hasn't proven enough to me in the NBA that he can be that person where you can give the ball to and we can be able to run plays through him. I like the fact that his shot has improved. I like the fact that he plays defense. I like the fact that he can run the floor and push the ball up the court. However, at the point guard position, I just don't think Lonzo Ball is the answer right now for this particular team.
So when you say run plays, what are you saying that you want him to do when you say run plays, though?
I mean, give the ball to Lonzo Ball, and he can be able to either score, meaning they can run a play for Lonzo Ball to score, either some sort of isolation, or his ability just with the ball in his hand to set other players up. Meaning you isolate him on one side of the court, and you can be able to run pick and rolls with him, and him be able to score, and him being able to set up his teammates. I don't feel like Lonzo Ball has proven enough to me in the NBA that he can do that.
I don't know. I think he can run a screen and roll. I think he can run a screen and roll. I think he can come off the screen and roll and pull up. He may not have the screen and roll game that Trae Young has, but I think he has the ability to do that. And I also think creating for others does not always mean that the point guard is the one who delivers the assist or gets the person the open shot. Sometimes creating for others.
That's why I said you need another ball handler on the floor. That's why I said you need another guy. If you're going to get Lonzo Ball, I don't have a problem with him. You just got to get someone else.
But I also think creating for others means that you put people in the right positions because you can see what the defense is giving you or what the defense has been giving you. You put people in the right positions, then you say, okay, now let's go. And you might just be the person who passes the ball to the top of the key, and then everything else flows from there. So, I think there's different ways to create for others, and it doesn't always have to be the person with the ball, is actually the one making it happen. It could be the person with that ball is the one who calls the play that makes it happen. You get what I'm saying?
I understand.
But, I do, though, believe if you're looking to contend, Lonzo Ball maybe isn't the guy, right? If you're looking to just continue to slowly build and be able to let him get experience while they're playing well and becoming a better and better and better team, then he might be a guy that you look forward to. So we'll see. Nate, real quick, what do you think about Lonzo Ball?
So for me, I feel like if you're going to get Lonzo Ball, you need to have shooters around for him because the guy loves to make passes, especially if, he's not going to take it to the cup. He's going to kick out to the shooters. You need to have shooters around him. So if you're gonna sign Lonzo Ball to a contract, you need to have some shooters in play for him, so he can make those passes out to the threes.
I agree. We're gonna need shooters anyway. You heard Tom Thibodeau when he was talking about
that's true, yeah.
What they're looking at in the draft, and obviously he said wing players and shooters. And I think that right there tells you
especially
something
with a guy
too.
like Ball because he's a playmaker.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with you. I think that tells you something too. We're going to get to potential draft targets when it comes to the point guard spot. But when you heard Tom Thibodeau, and it could be a smoke screen, it could be anything, but you heard him say, we're looking for wing players and shooters, which means maybe they're like, we're going to get our point guard either through trade or through free agency. That's something to pay attention to right there, because maybe Tom Thibodeau, and I kind of believe that this is how Tom Thibodeau is, doesn't feel like he can get the leader that he wants through the draft. Not if they're going to be a playoff team. He may not feel that way. Next guy I want to talk about, Dennis Schroeder. He's going to be a free agent this season. He made $17.5 million. What do you think about him? And I don't think he would be your long-term point guard, but as a stopgap guy. Steph?
I haven't watched much of him, to be honest, since he left Atlanta. But I liked him in Atlanta. I liked his speed. I liked his change of pace. I liked his defense. And even if he's not playing like that with the Lakers, it doesn't mean he can't get back to that. So he's definitely an upgrade over what we have in the league. He has playoff experience. I would like a veteran guard. Doesn't have to be a Grizzly veteran, but he's been in the league 8 years. I'm okay with that. Even if he's a stopgap, I'm okay with that. So I'm okay with Schroeder.
What do you think, Josh? What would you be, Schroeder?
I think Dennis Schroeder, out of the 5 players you name, I think Dennis Schroeder is the best possible option for this team as far as money,
okay,
as far as bang for your buck, as far as what he brings on the floor. I've always been a big fan of Dennis Schroeder. I feel like you can run plays through him. He's a really, really good defender, really underrated defender, in my opinion. He can be able to push the ball up the court, and he can be able to lead a team. I really, really like Dennis Schroeder out of all the players you named. And you don't have to pay him as much. $20 million, he can be a stopgap, and if it works out after 3 years, you can continue to have him on the team long term. So I definitely like Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything you said is right. He might be the best bang for your buck. I just question, looking at this team, we need a leader, in my opinion. And I question, and I had the same question with Lonzo Ball as well about his leadership. Not that there's anything wrong with him. It's just, is he, Kyle Lowry, Chris Paul, these guys are grizzled, been in the league, they've been around, they've been through everything. Good teams, bad teams, elimination, being eliminated in the playoffs, to going far in the playoffs. I mean, they've been through it all. And I feel like you need one of those guys with this team to go to the next level. Lonzo Ball, Dennis Schroeder, neither one of those guys have that kind of experience. Dennis Schroeder is just getting this experience, kind of. I mean, he's been on some playoff teams in Atlanta, though. Right? He's been on a few playoff teams, but, I don't know if he's grizzled in that manner. But I do believe you are getting the best bang for your buck. And he's a guy, he's 28 years old right now. He's probably in his prime. And you don't know where his game could elevate to. Look at Reggie Jackson right now. He's another guy we're going to talk about in a little bit. Look at him right now. Nate?
Yeah, for me, Schroeder, my biggest question for Schroeder is, I agree. I think he definitely is a guy who can get a bucket. He's got great speed for his size. He's definitely going to be a mismatch for other guards. Defender, he's a good defender. My question is, can he get other people involved? Because when I watched him play with LA, I mean, obviously it's tough when LeBron James is your point guard, but I really didn't see that ability with Schroeder a lot. And you have a lot of mouths to feed on this team that require a good point guard that's going to be able to get them buckets. And I don't know if Schroeder's that type of dude. I think Schroeder's guy who's going to try to get his own and try to be the man in a sense, rather than try to get others involved. That's my only question with him. I need to see more of that playmaking ability from him, because you have guys like Mitch, you have guys like, let's say if we keep Bullock or whoever, you're going to have a point guard to get them their shots. And I don't know if Schroeder's that type of dude. So that's my only reserve against him. Other than that, I mean, if he comes cheap and, he can score buckets and he can play defense, I mean, kids are going to love that.
Yeah.
I would say, I hear people talking about how he performed in the playoffs. That doesn't mean that that's all he's going to ever be, because he had a bad playoff performance. Randall had a bad playoff performance. I don't think that's all Randall is going to be. It happens.
Yeah,
and also one more thing, people are saying he turned down 4 years, $84 million from the Lakers. Maybe it's just a change of scenery. What's wrong with that? I mean, he's not turning. I don't think he's turning down that money because he wants more money. I just think that he wants to get out of LA, get somewhere new and do it that way. That's also a thing that people have to take into consideration.
Right.
And that the argument about players, look how they performed in the playoffs. That's how you become grizzled, right? That's how you become a veteran. You have good playoff series. You have bad. Look at Paul George. Paul George is playing well in the playoffs. He's had his ups and downs. You had people calling him Pandemic P and all kinds of stuff, right? Because of times he didn't show up in the playoffs. But this is how you get better. You get in the playoffs, you have good performances, you have bad performances. And that's how you learn how to win basketball games. And that's how you learn how to win in the playoffs. So, it doesn't mean that someone, like you said, Steph, is going to have a bad performance with us just because they did with another team. It just doesn't. Next on this list, you can see, those are the first 5 guys that I wanted to talk about in free agency. Obviously, there's more guys. Let's start with Spencer Dinwiddie. Right, he's going to be a free agent this year. Obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie's got, I don't want to say baggage. He's got injury issues, because he's coming off of, what was it, an ACL? Right? And you don't know exactly what it is you might be getting from Spencer Dinwiddie. But what do you think about Spencer Dinwiddie?
Me?
I like him.
Oh.
If we can get him on a good contract, you know, and if he's fully healthy, I like Dinwiddie. This is somebody who's played in the NBA. He's scored in the NBA. He's gone nuts in the NBA before he can get, as Josh says, he can get a bucket. I like his size. I like his defensive potential. I don't think he's a great playmaker from what I remember, but I think he's a willing passer. So I like him.
Okay, Josh?
I would love to have Spencer Dinwiddie on this team. I know he does have a history with the ACLs or whatever, Achilles or whatever the case may be. He does have some injury history on his knees, so that's a bit of a concern. But if we can get him for the cheap, I would definitely like to have him on this team because just like the same thing as I mentioned with Dennis Schroeder, Spencer Dinwiddie can provide that. We've seen what he did on the Brooklyn Nets team when they didn't have all their stars, when it was just him, pretty much being a best option on that team, that Brooklyn Nets team. And he was balling. He was balling out. And he definitely hit a game-winning shot over against us one time. So I definitely would like to have Spencer Dinwiddie, but the price has to be right.
Right. Nate, would you be concerned with Spencer Dinwiddie, or would you be okay with bringing him in as your starting point guard without having another veteran around, just in case that injury took a toll on him?
I mean, if we're re-signing Derrick Rose and we go and get Dimwit, I mean, I'm okay with that. I mean, I think that, the injuries are a concern, but I mean, when the guy's healthy, he's played well. I mean, and in my opinion, he's a better playmaker than freaking Schroeder is and Ball. I actually think I like his game more than both those dudes. And he can put buckets. He can get buckets for you. And I think he's going to come in with a chip. Because he was playing really well and then he had that injury and he probably felt like he could have helped that Nets, get to the championship and he wasn't able to do that. So I think he's going to come in with a chip and I mean, for the right price. Yeah. I mean, I definitely would go after him, but I would definitely bring back Derrick Rose just in case,
Right.
Because you just never know what's going to happen with those knees.
Right. Any concerns, Steph, that
Second
you would
ACL
have?
injury, by the way.
Second?
He tore it he tore it in college, almost ended his career. So that's a concern, huge concern.
Yeah. I would definitely be concerned. That's why the money would have to be right. The years would have to be right. And I think, of course, you're going to have a backup point guard. It could be Derrick Rose. It could be Brunson. It could be, what's my guy that I like from the Pacers?
Brogdon.
No, the backup point guard.
The backup point
Nick,
guard.
what's his name? Nick. Somebody mentioned him.
McConnell. TJ McConnell.
I love McConnell. Yeah, McConnell. I like. We would need definitely need a really good backup. Yeah.
I would. I would. I agree. You would definitely need a really good backup because I'd be concerned about whether or not he comes back as strong. Right. And I'm not saying he won't. It's just you just never know how these injuries are going to affect different people. Right. You just don't know. You just don't know. The next guy we have, Goran Dragic. Me, I really don't have much interest in Goran Dragic. I hear people mention his name. I don't have much interest in him. I just don't. I don't know. And Steph, any interest? Josh, any interest? Nate?
No.
He's gonna stick with Miami, I think.
He has playoff pedigree. He's been around. He's been around for forever. He's definitely older, up there in age. Lefty, can definitely shoot the ball around a little bit, but to me, I just think he's too slow. And I don't really like him.
He's definitely like the Derrick Rose version. Like, he's coming off the bench and he scored, and that's really all he does. He's not really starting anymore because Kendrick Nunn took his starting position.
Right. Now, obviously, you see Derrick Rose.
Isn't Nunn a free agent?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steph.
Nunn is a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Nunn a free agent?
Is Nunn a free agent? I don't know. Let me see.
Kendrick Nunn from Miami.
Yeah, I'm looking at my free agent list. I don't see Kendrick Nunn. I see Chris Dunn, but I don't see Kendrick Nunn.
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
Restricted.
Obviously, Derrick Rose is a free agent, and I think we all want Derrick Rose back. I don't want to bring him back as the starter. All right, and it's not that he doesn't give you production. I just think he's better suited right now at this stage in his career. Even though he's younger than Mike Conley, or maybe the same age as Mike Conley, I think he's younger than Kyle Lowry, younger than Chris Paul. I just think what Derrick Rose brings to the game right now, he's best coming off the bench because of the knee issues. You know, I mean, I don't know how many knee surgeries Derrick Rose has had. And I think in order to get the best out of Derrick Rose, and I think you can have Derrick Rose come off the bench and give you 20 to 25 minutes a game. And in those 20 to 25 minutes, he can play like an all-star. And I think that gives you an advantage because now you can bring a guy like him off your bench who can give you all-star production for that amount of time. So I think he's better suited coming off the bench. And then if you can bring in a Kyle Lowry and then have Derrick Rose coming off your bench as your backup point guard, I mean, that's a 1-2 punch that's powerful to me. Or if you had a Chris Paul and you brought Derrick Rose coming off the bench, I think that's I think that's a strong 1-2 punch.
But you would need a third point guard with that because they're older. You know, Chris Paul and Lowry are older. Rose, even at 20 to 25 minutes, still has injury. There's still injury concerns. So you would need a third point guard. And I got to be honest, I would not be upset if we did not sign Rose and we signed Brunson as the backup point guard. I would not. There's some people
Brunson's under contract.
him. Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's still under contract.
Okay. He has another.
Yeah, he has another year.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he has another year. Reggie Jackson, he's going to be a free agent, and he's probably making himself a lot of money in these playoffs. I've never been a huge fan of Reggie Jackson, but I like the way he's playing in the playoffs. And, you know, I've been watching him, and it's made me think differently about Reggie Jackson, like probably a lot of people. Steph, what are your thoughts? Reggie Jackson, would you give him a contract, and what would you give him?
I don't think I would give him that much. I would say 18 million. I liked him when he was this was years ago when he was with Detroit, right? Then he had a lot of injuries, and then he seemed like he just wasn't the same. And now, you know, look at him, you know, like a resurgence, getting back to himself. But I wouldn't pay him that much. I like his offense, that he can get a bucket. I like him defensively. But I'm not willing to pay him like 20 something million a season. Right. I'm just not willing.
I mean, let me tell you what, right now for the Clippers, they're getting a deal with him. He's making $2.3 million with the Clippers right now.
You think he'll take 10?
He just might.
He might. He might.
Minimum or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not making He's not taking 2.3 next year. I can tell you that. You know, because I think he's staying in L.A. I think he's staying there. Him and Paul George are buddies, right? Paul George talked the other day after the game about
that's the best situation for him.
Yep. You know, they talked the other day about how they've talked about playing together and stuff like that. I think he's probably going to stay with the Clippers. You know, and he'll probably, since he's making $2.3 million this year, you know, if he makes 10 to 15, I mean, that's a huge, that's huge bump. That's a huge bump. And I think he'll be all right with that. So I think he's going to stay. But what do you think, Josh? Would you take Reggie Jackson?
I definitely would, and I think it says a lot. And just like Steph said, when he was in Detroit, he was balling out. Just that he played for the Pistons, and they were terrible. But I think it says a lot where Reggie Jackson can actually be getting more minutes than Rajon Rondo. I think that says a lot about what Reggie Jackson's been doing for this team in the playoffs. So I definitely wouldn't mind to have him on the team. I would pay him $10 to $15 million. I think that's very fair for what he brings to the table. And I think he can be, the point guard for the next couple of years if we give him a 2-1 kind of contract. I think that's really good for the cap and for what he brings to the table. So I definitely wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it as a stopgap. He's kind of in the what's his name? I forgot his name already.
Schroeder?
Yeah, he's kind of in the Dennis Schroeder category. Look at that. I forgot his name that quick. He's kind of in the Dennis Schroeder category for me. You know what I mean? Last guy I have on the list, and obviously there's other guys out there, and I'll name a few quickly, but Cameron Payne could be a surprise guy that's on people's list, especially if the Suns give Chris Paul a contract for 3 more years, $20 million a year, whatever, but he's under contract for 3 more years. Cameron Payne may say, hey, I want my own team. And he's proven right now that he can play. Somebody might take a chance on this guy as their starter. I don't know if the Knicks are the team to take that chance, but he's been playing some good basketball. Steph, what do you think about Cameron Payne?
I like him. He's playing well for Phoenix right now. What I don't know is how well he's playing is just because of how well the team is playing, and he's a good part, a good part of that. I would have to see him another year though. I mean, I don't know if I want to give him $15-20 million for what he's doing right now. I would need to see more, but I would take him as a backup for sure. And if he worked his way in as the starter, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. In my opinion, with Cameron Payne, I think if he goes to another team, I think he's looking to be a starter. He's 27 years old. He's been in the league for 6 years.
Yeah, he ain't got to be a backup.
I think he's. I don't think he's. If he's going to be a backup, he might as well stay in Phoenix. Right? If Chris Paul is there, he might as well stay in Phoenix. He may be looking to say, this is my time. Let me see if I can run a team. Somebody may take a chance on him. He made $1 million this year. Josh, what do you think?
No, I'm not really sold on Cameron Payne yet. I think, what he's done in the playoffs, I think it's been really, truly, truly phenomenal what he's done with Phoenix. But I do think that's more of a product of what the team is doing. And that good camaraderie they have is, without Chris Paul being on the floor, like you mentioned, Sam, due to injury. So I definitely wouldn't want to have Cameron Payne on this team. Definitely not at $10 million. We still have yet to see what he can do as a starter over the course of the season. I don't think he's ever had starter minutes in the NBA yet during the course of the season. So I definitely wouldn't want him as a starting point guard for this team. Potential is definitely there. I just haven't seen it yet. Same with Jalen Brunson, by the way.
Okay, say same with Jalen Brunson. And of course,
same with Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau likes that kid. Probably because of the relationship with his dad.
More Brunson than I see with Payne.
What'd you say? What'd you say, Nate?
I said I've seen more with Brunson than I've seen more with Brunson than I've seen with Payne.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, Brunson's not going to be available.
I think Brunson's going to be a starter.
He might be. He might be. He's not going to be available this season, though. He's not going to be available this season. And I think Cameron Payne, again, is a guy, well, he is 27 years old. He's a little bit older. And he's unproven. So I guess he's just not a guy that you take a chance on. It's not the time for the Knicks to take a chance. If the Knicks hadn't played well this season, then you might say, you know what, let's take a chance. Right? But he's not a guy you take a chance on. So, yeah, I guess, maybe somebody will one day. If they're going to do it, it should be soon because he's 27 years old. Other guys that could be on the market, or not could be, that are on the market that maybe the Knicks have some interesting. Devontae Graham. He's a restricted free agent. He's 26 years old. He made $1.3 million this season. He could be on the market. He will be on the market. Obviously, the Charlotte Hornets will be able to match anything. There's a good chance that he moves on, given that they have Ball and Scary Terry over there. So it's a good chance that he could be moving on to another team. Any interest in Devontae Graham?
Not as a starting point guard. No, just he could shoot though, but his playmaking I have concerns about.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I like Devontae Graham. I feel like you can give Devontae Graham the ball and he can go out and score if the team needs a bucket. Not on the level as like some of these star players, but Devontae Graham, you can run plays through him. So I like him.
He'll be a good sixth man for us.
So you like him as a starter, Josh?
I do like him as a starting point guard. I think what he's done with Charlotte, I know they've had, Scary Terry has had his injuries. Ball was injured a little bit. Devontae Graham basically carried that team the last season and before, some of this season when Ball wasn't there. So I like Devontae Graham as a starting point guard. I really think he's going to be really good, depending on the situation.
Okay. All right. Nate,
he's undersized though, but he plays well.
Yeah.
No, I think, like I said, I think he'd be a good sixth man for us if we don't bring back Derrick Rose. I mean, the guy can get buckets, and we need a guy that's going to have juice off the bench, and he could definitely do that. I don't think he's a starting point guard.
Okay, let's talk about some potential trade targets. Right, because there's going to be some guys out there that's on the market to be traded. Let's start with Malcolm Brogdon, because he could be a trade target this year. I don't know, what happened in Indiana. Well, we do know what happened in Indiana. The guys didn't like the coach, all kinds of stuff. Maybe they are ready to break down and move on. Right? We started to see it throughout the season. You heard rumors and then wanted to trade Miles Turner. And if Malcolm Brogdon is on the market and he's on the block, would you make a move for him? Josh, I'll start with you. You making a move for Malcolm Brogdon if he's on the block?
Absolutely. Without question. Malcolm Brogdon, defensive player. He can guard the other team's best player. In my opinion, he definitely can do that. He's a dog. He can go out and he can knock the three ball down. He's not flashy. He's very, very crafty with the basketball, takes care of the basketball. He is a shooter. I think he averaged 50, 40, 90 a couple seasons ago, if not last season. So I would love to have Malcolm Brogdon at the point guard spot. I think it's almost a perfect fit for this team.
I agree with that perfect fit thing. I think he would fit everything that Tom Thibodeau embodies. I think he's another guy that embodies it. Steph?
I like him. He reminds me of Lowry Light. He's just he can run a team. He plays defense. Everything Josh said. He could shoot the three. He's also good with stealing the ball as well. So he always has his hands in the passing lane, quick hands. I have some concerns about his injuries. I don't quite remember the types of injuries he's had, but he seems to have been nicked up a lot, missing games a lot. That's my only issue with Brogdon. But if we can get Brogdon, that's like Lowry with years left, in my opinion. Maybe not the experience of a Lowry, though. But in terms of his game, I really like him.
And a shooter who can knock down free throws and hit threes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he would be my first choice if we can get him.
Okay. All right. Nate?
Out of everybody we discussed.
Right. Nate?
Yeah, in a heartbeat, man. In a heartbeat. I'm a big fan of Brogdon. I loved him when he came out of Virginia. I mean, big guard, can shoot the ball at a high clip. Very good defender, underrated passer. I mean, and he's probably going to be a cheap deal. So, I mean, yeah, I'd make that in a heartbeat.
What do you mean when you say he's probably going to be a cheap deal? Because the Knicks would have to trade for him.
Well, I mean, like, he's going to be like, his contract's not going to be, I don't think he's getting paid that much.
I think he's getting paid like 20 to 25 million a year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think that's what he gets paid. Because you remember, yeah, remember they Indiana signed him away from Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
They signed him away from Milwaukee.
Well, I mean, he's still worth it. He's still worth it because of all the intangibles he brings to the team. So yeah,
I think he's definitely worth it. I think it's definitely worth it. Right now, let me see. I'm look up Malcolm Brogdon's salary. I know it's like $25 million a year, somewhere around there. Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, I think it's like $27 million.
No, actually, it's a little cheaper than that. He makes $21.7 million next season and $22.6 million the season after that. That's a perfect contract for the Knicks.
Yeah,
still,
that is a perfect contract. And if he's available,
he's 27 years old, Sam.
I'm not sure how old he is. He's somewhere around there. He was born in 92.
26.
28.
Like 28. Yeah, 28. I think in December he'll turn 29. And so, wow. Yeah. I guess he was I guess he's in, what, he stayed in college 4 years, something like that.
The way he played, it looks like it. Looks like he was still
right.
real good.
6'5", 223. I would definitely bring him in. He's 6'5". I didn't know he was that tall. He's 6'5".
I didn't know he was 6'5". I thought 6'3", 6'5".
That's what I thought. 6'3". Let me check NBA.com just to be sure, right? Of what his height actually is, because that's a nice big guard, and I think Tom Thibodeau would love to have a big guard like that still does the things that he does.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm, 6'5", 229. That's what they got him listed as.
Wow.
Averaged 21.2 points per game last season, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, or 5.9 assists. Who knows if he's on the market? If he is on the market, what are you giving up for Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah, we're gonna have to give up. I would give up quick for him.
Gotta unload some of those picks. You have to. I think Indiana, they want to bring a new coach in there, so they're gonna try to rebuild a little bit. They have Karis LeVert there, so they're gonna try to build around him. I think they're gonna try to get younger, get some of these picks, and I would do it. Depends on how many, but I definitely would do it.
Yeah, because you're gonna have to. I mean, look, the Knicks have picks; they can give up picks. If this happens, say if I'm the Knicks, if he's on the market, I'm trying to make this happen during the draft. Right? This way, I just think it's a little bit, if I draft a player, now Indiana may or may not like those players, whatever it is. If I do it before the draft, now, and let's say I'm giving them 1 or 2 of my draft picks, they can decide to do what they want. They can move them. They can draft those players, whatever it is. So if I'm the Knicks, I try to do it before or during the draft, I guess. I just think that your draft picks are more valuable before you draft the players than after you draft the players. Because once you draft the players, then some teams are like, I don't really like that guy or whatever it is. Sometimes you're drafting for another player, though. I mean, sometimes you're drafting for another team as well. But, if I'm the Knicks, I try to make a move definitely before the draft or during the draft for Malcolm Brogdon if he was available. Now, the next guy that could possibly be available is Kemba Walker, the New York native. Steph, I'll start with you. I see you shaking your head. I'm going to start with you. Kemba Walker could be available.
I don't like Kemba. And it's not just his injuries concerns. He hasn't been able to find when he was in Charlotte, he could shoot any shot he wanted to shoot. I think he had a difficult time finding his place with Boston, and I don't think it was because he was injured. Just playing in a system, playing with other players where you're not the first option and you're not dribbling the ball all over the place, shooting whenever you want to. So that's my concern with him coming to the Knicks. Can he be an effective player if he's not the very first option? And the second thing is his injury. This guy was not on the floor for any of the seasons that he was with Boston. He's getting older, and I'm not banking on the fact that now all of a sudden he's going to get healthy and return to form like he did in Charlotte. So no, I don't think his game fits what we're trying to do anyway.
Okay. Josh?
Wow. So Kemba Walker for me is like that scenario that every Knicks fan has, because Josh wants to go out and get everybody. So they're going to come to our team and they're just going to get hurt. I think that's how I personally see Kemba myself. So the answer is no. He was supposed to do way better in Boston. The injuries couldn't stay on the floor. And even when he was on the floor, it just didn't make any difference for that team because he didn't show up for half the time. So I think if you're going to pay him all that money, you got to be able to show up. And Kemba Walker just hasn't done that. So the answer is no. And it's unfortunate because I really believe he can make a difference, but it hasn't been the case.
Yeah. He's somebody I was never really interested in bringing him to the Knicks, even when he was a free agent. I thought he was kind of small. And I like to have longer guards for defensive purposes. Obviously, you see what Atlanta's doing with Trae Young, and he's not a big guard, but I still prefer big guards, that can, pound you defensively, can maybe post up smaller guards, those type of things. So I was never really that interested in Kemba Walker. I wouldn't have been mad if the Knicks got him because I know he can ball, but I'm glad they didn't. Nate?
I mean, that's an emphatic hell no. Honestly, he's a shell of himself. I just don't think he's a good fit for our team. Again, he's kind of like a Schroeder. He's looking to get his own. I don't really feel like he makes other players better. He's a small guard. He's injury prone. No.
Okay. All right. Where do you think is the right fit for him? What do you
Charlotte? Question. I mean, the Thunder.
I mean, the Thunder, they're in rebuilding mode, just like they did with CP3. Eventually, they're gonna move on from Kemba Walker.
But he's a lead guard, and Shea Gilgeous can play the off ball, or you can play Kemba at the off ball and play Shea Gilgeous at the point. So, and they got a young squad. So I mean, he could be that lead guard if he's healthy. I mean, that's the key point. He's got to be healthy.
So Sim, I think he can be a lead guard for a team that is really strong in the front court, or that has a front court player that's really, really good, which technically is us. But again, with his injury history, I don't want to even go after that. So I would say someplace like Minnesota, Philly. If Philly wants to, if they can try to make that happen, I think Kemba Walker can be really good for Philly as their point guard. But he got to stay healthy, and that's just that's pretty much it.
What about Toronto?
Nah, I think
they might as well try to. I mean, obviously, they got
Siakam in the front court.
If Kyle Lowry decides to move on, then they're going to be looking for a point guard. But you might as well try to stick with Kyle Lowry, right? Because look how much money he makes, and if you're Toronto, you're looking at the possibility of entering a rebuilding stage. You're not going to take on Kemba Walker's salary, and you're entering a rebuilding stage, in my opinion, right? Because Kemba Walker is still making, what, $30 million a year?
Yeah, he's making a lot.
Yeah, he makes $36 million next year, and then there's a player option for 2022, 2023 for $37 million. Let me ask you this.
Oh, my God.
What if OKC, I doubt they would do this because they want to hoard draft picks, but let's just say they said, hey, we'll give you Kemba Walker. You take Kemba Walker off our books and we'll give you a draft pick. I doubt they would do it because they took Kemba Walker so that they can get him off somebody else's books, right? So that they could receive some things. So I guess I don't even want to answer that question because it's not going to happen with OKC. OKC's not going to do it.
Hang up the phone.
Yeah, so I changed my mind on that one because OKC's not going to do that. They're going to be looking, if they do, they'll probably shop Kemba Walker around, and they might even look to the Knicks to try to shop Kemba Walker.
You can't have a guy like that taking up so much of your cap space so that you
Right.
can't go out and sign other players who are going to contribute more.
Right.
Especially somebody's declining too.
Yeah. Especially since he has that player option in 22-23. If it was a team option, maybe you say, well, let's give him a try. If it doesn't work out,
Right.
we can move on from him. But he has a player option, and he'll likely pick up that $37 million. Yeah. Next guy on the list, Dame time, Damian Lillard.
Oh,
I mean, you guys know my stance already. I know he makes a lot of money, but that's Dame. And
Sim, I gotta.
Damian Lillard he takes you there. He puts you in position to start, really, really winning basketball games at a high clip and taking your team to another level, in my opinion. Damian Lillard is ridiculous on the floor. I'm sorry. And people say he's 31, he's going to be 35 when that contract is up. Damian Lillard's going to be doing Damian Lillard things at 35. Boy can just ball. Hey, he's big time. Go ahead, Nate.
Got two questions for you on this Dame talk.
Mm-hmm.
First one is, are you trading Barrett to get Dame? Second of all, do you feel that Dame and Randall, those two being our best two players, does that take us to an elite level?
I think so. I think those two. I would hate to trade RJ Barrett. I'm not going to lie. Push came to shove. I mean,
Just saying.
listen. Anybody's going to look at the Knicks and say, anyone's going to look at the Knicks and say, you really decided not to trade for Damian Lillard to keep RJ.
Wait, good point.
That anyone's going to say that. I would want to pair the three of them.
Yes.
I would. I would want to pair the three of them. But realistically speaking, if you want Damian Lillard, because Miami's going to be out there. If he gets on the block, you got Miami out there. You got Boston out there that's going to be looking to make a move for him. And whoever. Those two teams right there are going to be a super threat. Philly. Right? And they got Ben Simmons that they can say, hey, we can offer up Ben Simmons too. Right? So there's going to be a lot of competition. And if the Knicks want Damian Lillard, they're going to have to give up some.
And then what the talk is going to be is, well, there's another super team. Knicks shouldn't go out and get anybody because even if they go out and get someone, we give away all our picks, we still can't beat that team. It's the same cycle over and over and over again. Teams are going to be out there and be aggressive, so we have to be aggressive as well. I'm not saying carry the farm. For Dame, you're probably going to have to. But at the same time, I think the Knicks have enough flexibility where they can be able to give up some draft picks and still keep their own and still develop their young players and still compete.
They're going to want players.
I'm not really worrying about the draft picks. The draft is such a crapshoot. I'm not really worrying about that. But if we're going to keep RJ, then you giving up everybody else. If you give up RJ, then you give up less, I would think. But if you're going to keep RJ, you're giving up pretty much everybody else.
They're going to want a king's ransom for Damian Lillard. I'm telling you right now, it's going to start with RJ. It's going to start with quickly, possibly Toppin, and draft picks. So get ready.
This is my two concerns with trading for Dame. He accelerates our window like super fast. You got a 4-year window to make it happen. And the second concern is, and Sim, you may know this, and I know if Andy was here, he would know it. If we had him and Randall at the max extension or whatever, would we have enough money to put a team around him? Because I don't think those two players is going to be enough. It's a good start, don't get me wrong, but you're going to have to put players around them, and you got to have an adequate bench as well.
Well, here's the thing, right? Let's say you traded for Damian Lillard this season, okay? So that means next season you're paying Lillard $40 million. I'm about to get the exact number in just a second, but you're paying him about $40 million next season. 43.7 to be exact. Next season, you're paying Julius Randle $20. So now what you have the ability to do for next season is fill out your roster with some players for next season through trade, through free agency. And then when it's time to pay Randall, you will have the ability to go over the cap. Right? Now, obviously, there's still a hard cap at a certain point. At a certain point, you just can't go any farther. But you would have the ability to go over the cap with Julius Randle if you thought your team was ready to contend at that point. And then, of course, you got mid-level exceptions, and you got
vet minimums.
The vet minimums to be able to fill out your roster. You got to be able to find the players, but I feel like when you get players, other players want to come. I mean, you seen what happened with Brooklyn, and I know they crapped out in the playoffs, right? But LaMarcus Aldridge, buyout, went to Brooklyn. Blake Griffin, buyout, went to Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are like, yep, this is what I'm about to do. And that whole buyout market thing that you're seeing happen this year, that's about to be a trend, in my opinion.
Right.
That buyout market after the trade deadline is going to be as big as, if not bigger than the trade deadline in the coming years, I think. After teams seeing what Brooklyn was able to do with getting LaMarcus, because if LaMarcus Aldridge was there this season, if that, I feel bad that he went out, but if he was there, and even though Kyrie and James Harden go down, I mean, you still got a guy that can give you 15 and 10 at your big man spot, along with Kevin Durant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think guys come, and I think you'll have ways to fill out your roster, and you'll still have some of your young guys that you built and you grew with. You'd still have your Mitchell Robinsons, and you would have maybe one of Quickly or Obi on the team. You'd still have some young guys that you grew with. You would have Julius Randle. You didn't draft Julius Randle, but he became a star under your watch, so that kind of makes him yours. You know what I mean? You're going to give up a lot, though. There's no doubt about it. You're going to give up a whole lot. A whole lot.
So let me add something to this, because I see a lot of people in the chat saying, well, the Knicks aren't going to win a championship with Dame and Randle. Once again, it's not about getting free agents to go out and win you a championship. If you start thinking about winning championships and, okay, this person's definitely going to get us over the hump or get us to win a championship, that's the wrong way of thinking, because Brooklyn, they went out, they signed 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA, and they traded for another top 5 player in the NBA, and they still couldn't get it done. Injuries or not, and with all those players that they had on their bench. So it's not about winning a championship and trading to win championships. It's about putting yourself in a position so that when it comes down to it and you're the last four teams standing, you can give yourself a chance, because you can never predict injuries. So that's the position that I want the Knicks to be in, to take the next step towards that level. That's why you have teams like Atlanta who are able to advance past teams who I feel are superior to them, or at least compete with teams who I feel like are superior to them. When you have teams like the Bucks, they were better than the Nets, but healthy. The Nets are a better team than them, but they still were going to force them to Game 7. So I want the Knicks to be in a position where, even though they don't have the most talent, they're not more talented than another team, they can be able to put themselves in a position to win. Also, you mentioned something about if you have one player that takes up a chunk of your cap. If you look at 2 out of the 4 teams that are currently left in the playoffs right now, Milwaukee and the Clippers, they have 2 players on their roster who make over $30 to $35 million, and they're still able to fill out their roster with other players. If you look at the Warriors, they have a similar payroll structure. If you look at the Lakers, they have a similar payroll structure. Just because you have 2 players who make over $35 million, you can still go out and get players. Players are going to want to come play for you. So it's not the end all be all. If we get Damian Lillard, we're not going to be cap strapped if we have someone on the roster that makes $35 million.
43.
Yeah, 43. 43 in the first year. 43 in the first year, and then, continues to rise 47, 50, and then a player option in 2024-25 for $54 million. Go ahead, Nate.
got a question. So if we did trade for Dame, let's just say hypothetically, let's say we gave up draft picks, we gave up Barrett. Let's say we did keep Obi or Quickly, one of those guys. Would you consider, because you talked about having to fill the roster out, would you consider bringing back the guys we had this year, like the Burks, the Bullocks, obviously not Payton, maybe even Rose or somebody like that, and just run it back with now adding Dame Lillard to the roster? Would you consider doing that? Because rather than having to go out and get the players, I mean, you put Dame Lillard on this team with these other guys, I mean, it would be easier in a sense because you could tell them like, hey, we got Dame Lillard now. Now we're going to be able to run. Now we got our point guard, and now we want to keep you guys because you guys have been a part of this team's rebirth, rather than going out and getting free agents. I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Right. I mean, Bullocks, Burks, Nerlens Noel. I think at the center spot, we need somebody who's got more girth to deal with these big guys. I love Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson, but somewhere along the line, we need a guy that's got more strength to be able to deal with these big centers that's in the league. But yeah, I throw some of those guys out there without a doubt. And if I could find a way to bring Derrick Rose back to come off the bench and have Damian Lillard start as your starting point guard and Derrick Rose coming off the bench, man, that's lethal business right there. That's lethal.
Hey, would you bring Melo back?
And yes, I can guarantee you right now, if Chris Paul or Damian Lillard end up on the Knicks, Carmelo Anthony's on the way. With Chris Paul, you might be able to sign him outright without having to trade anything. So you would still have Obi, and everything. So you maybe you don't bring back a Burks or something like that. Who knows? I don't know. Because you might be able to get Melo at the vet's minimum. But I think if Chris Paul or Damian Lillard end up with the Knicks, Melo is going to be on the way too. First thing smoking in New York, I think he's going to be on the way. And you'll probably get Melo, on a cheap deal, on a veteran's minimum, which is going to be good for your team. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be great for your team. We'll see. And look, I did a video the other day. The cards could be aligning for Damian Lillard to end up in New York with everything that's going on in Portland. You got Johnny Bryant here. Him and Johnny Bryant are, friends / Bryant is a friend / mentor. The Knicks need a point guard. They have the ability, but they're not the only team. It's going to be a lot of competition for Damian Lillard. You already know that. I'm going to get to a phone call right quick. Open up the lines. Before I do that, I do want to remind you that the VIP tickets to the draft party are available right now, ladies and gentlemen. They are available. The link is pinned to the top of your chat. So go ahead and click on that link. I'm going to throw it in the chat right now one more time. All right, where you can, you can go ahead and start getting your tickets, ladies and gentlemen, because they already are moving. So go ahead, click on that link at the top of your YouTube chat and get your tickets. And I'm putting the link in right now so you can get your tickets. VIP tickets, only $25. You might as well jump on it, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to open up phone lines. Go ahead and give me a call, 516-405-2246. Had somebody calling in, and, well, here they are right now. So let's go ahead and get to it. Caller, you're live. What's popping with you? Tell me your name and where you're from.
It's the one and only Cooking with Sensei, Big Bubba, a.k.a. Isaiah.
What's going on, man? You said only wrong, but go ahead.
Tim, don't start.
I'm just saying, you said it's the one and only, but, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had to call, man. Is Josh here?
He's right there.
Mayor,
He's right here. He's listening to you.
Jaws, man, come on. What are we doing, man? What are we doing, man?
What you call to say, man?
Horrible
What did you
take,
call
John.
to say? Get to the point. What you call to say?
Listen, I called to say that you're doing a good job, sir. But
That's all. That's all you called to say. Okay. Well, go ahead.
No,
Well,
man,
jump in
I'm talking
there.
about Damian Lillard, and I think again, right? I think the main object, the main goal, if we get Damian Lillard, is to keep RJ, Randall, and him, and everybody else is on the table. You know, the 2 picks that we got, Obi, quickly, all these young guys, they have to go because, again, right, you need that 3 young core because I just don't think Dame and Julius are going to be the ones that get us to a championship. If you put RJ on there and RJ turns into a third option, I think you got something good. And then again, right, I agree with you with the point of you got a lot of these veterans that want to come here and play for the minimum. You do that, but if you get those guys and have that core, I think you'd be fine, and I think you'd be able to get a championship with that team.
So you're saying you don't think on the market you can find another RJ?
No. Not at his age or what he's producing.
But it's what he's producing. Is it that you don't think you can find somebody that's producing what he's producing now, or that can produce what he's going to produce in the future?
Potential.
No, I mean, again, who's really doing what he's doing right now? He's again 20. He's 20. He's 20 after 18.
But forget about the age.
It's not the age.
But you got to forget about the age because you're talking about right now. Okay, so at right now,
I mean,
let's say
production-wise, who's
right, production-wise.
Production-wise.
But who's giving it all? So who right now in the league is giving you 18 and 6 and scoring and playing defense? I don't know how many people.
So let me ask you a question. Does RJ right now give you 18 and 6 on a championship team?
Yes, I believe he does.
I don't think so.
It's hard to say. Don't know.
That's where we disagree. I'm not as high on RJ as a lot of people are, and I know Knicks fans don't like that, but it is what it is. But to me, again, it's not about. It is about winning the championship. Don't get me wrong. I want to win a championship a lot. I really want to win a championship. But it's about putting yourself.
Not from what you just said, Josh.
But Isaiah, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. It's about putting yourself in a position to win a championship because nothing is guaranteed. You can put all stars on one team and you're still not guaranteed to win a championship after that. So much has to happen. You still have to have the right coach. You still have to have, and I'm not saying Tibbs, I think he's a really good coach. You still have to have the right coach. You still have to have the right bench. You still have to have the right role players around you. Everything has to matter. And then a little bit of luck with other teams getting injured. So nothing is guaranteed. So if we get out of this mindset of going after the right player or, it has to be the right player, obviously, but so much things have to come together in order for you to win a championship. That's all I'm saying. And you can't continue year after year to bring in these stopgap players and saying that, okay, the Knicks are going to wait till next year, wait till Brooklyn's team dissolves or LA or the Warriors, because there's always going to be another juggernaut out there. So if you continue to play that game, you're never going to go anywhere. In my opinion, that's just the way I see things.
Can I ask you a question, Sam?
Real quick, because I got to get to another caller.
And I'm not trying to compare these two players, but do you think the Lakers would have won if they would have traded a young Kobe?
Let me counter with this. Do you think the Lakers would have won if they would have kept Julius Randle, they would have kept Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram? Would they have won that championship last year?
Can you ask my question first?
No. I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it one more
I'm trying to give you something more recent. Because one, RJ's not Kobe. Okay?
Exactly.
I know that. We all know that.
RJ's not Kobe. So I'm trying to give you something that's a little bit more recent rather than talking about 20 years ago. This is recent. This just happened. The Lakers, they didn't trade Julius Randle, but they brought in LeBron knowing that Julius Randle was going to move on because there was no room from him, right? Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. Let these guys go so that they can bring in LeBron, so that they can bring in Anthony Davis.
Well, Anthony Davis came free. I mean, no, LeBron came free.
But they had to let
So
Julius.
Anthony Davis is what you had
But,
to.
But they had to let D'Angelo Russell go in order to clear the cap space.
They had to let guys go to clear that cap space. So you still lost players. You could have said, I'm going to stick with Russell and Julius Randle or Lonzo Ball. I think maybe it was Lonzo Ball at the time, and they already got rid of Russell. Whatever happened,
they already got rid of. They already got rid of Russell.
But what I'm saying is they could have decided, no, we're just going to stick with these guys and build and grow. But they didn't. They moved guys so that they could bring in LeBron. And then by bringing in LeBron, it brought Anthony Davis.
Right.
Would they have won that? If they had Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball, and Brandon Ingram, do they win a championship last season?
No, they don't win one last season.
When do they win
Might
one?
not win one. They might not win one ever.
When do they win one?
Shoot.
When do they win it?
I don't know that. But the main purpose, we're trying to change the subject of that, but I'm just saying that, again, I just don't think Dame and Julius Randle and who's the third guy, Sam? Because you're not going to have picks. You're not gonna have that much cap space.
You can always go out and
So
get
who's it gonna be?
So who was the third guy for Brooklyn before Kyrie and KD got there?
It was LeVert,
It was Karis LeVert. But they ended up bringing in James Harden.
Right. And gave up
They
their
found
center.
a way.
It was a horrible trade, but
Did they find a way to bring him
sometimes
in?
You get lucky. Sometimes you got lucky like that.
All I'm saying
but
is,
again, if you give up
You
Lillard
got to be in it to win it.
and the picks, what third guy is going to be there?
well, I mean, you have a 2022 draft pick.
Well, that's not getting you a third star.
How do you know? Because I mean, you utilize.
come on, Sam, be
No,
realistic.
hold up. Stop. Because you can move Dallas. You can move a Dallas pick. You can move a Dallas 2023 pick. You can use those second round 2023 picks. Right? I mean, there's a lot.
Second round picks now?
No. Actually, those second round picks are very, very valuable. You're not understanding what I'm saying, right? Because you're thinking of another super duper star. It doesn't have to be a super duper star. It could be another guy that comes in that gives you 20 and 5 and fits the role that you can get. Who is on a contract? Who is on a contract? Hold up. Who is on a contract that a team wants to get rid of because now they're rebuilding. I'm telling you, you can't say who that player is right now because you don't know who's going to come available. Just like you don't know if Damian Lillard is available. You didn't know last year that he was going to be available. They prepare it so that they can capitalize on the opportunity.
As they arise, yeah.
As they arise. So I can't sit here and say, it's going to be Spencer Dinwiddie. It's going to be DeMar DeRozan. It's going to be this guy. Because you don't know when they're going to be available. But every year, there's guys that's available that can fit those roles.
But I understand that. But it's just, to me, it's difficult if you're going to trade Damian Lillard, you're going to trade the farm for him.
Let me ask you a question. Did we trade the farm for Carmelo?
Yes.
We did. Did we have the ability to get Chris Paul when we traded for Carmelo Anthony?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
So
we did not do it. We messed up. But if we had Chris Paul with Carmelo Anthony, I guarantee you we don't lose in that second round to the Indiana Pacers.
That's right.
Yeah, man,
so even though people say we gave up the farm for Melo, we still had the ability to add pieces. We just didn't add the right pieces.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And even though we didn't add the right pieces, we ended up being a 54 win team, the second in the Eastern Conference. We came up short. If we would have added the right pieces, maybe we don't come up short. What I'm saying to you is, hold up. What I'm saying to you is, right? I'm not trying to revise what happened back with Melo. What I'm saying to you is, you can make trades, big trades, and still be able to add pieces to your team. Because we still had the ability to bring in Chris Paul if we made the right decision. All we had to do is keep Chauncey Billups, let Chauncey Billups' contract expire. Chris Paul was on the way to next season.
Yeah.
But Sam, but you want to know one thing that's going to be difficult? You know the key difference between the like from the Lakers when they first got LeBron and the Brooklyn Nets?
What?
Is that these guys came there without trading anything. That's the key difference from. That's how you're able to do these.
What
moves.
are you talking about? They got LeBron
What
James,
you
but
mean?
they traded for Anthony Davis. They traded for Anthony Davis.
No. LeBron got there the year before,
and they traded for Anthony
Davis. Didn't have to
Davis.
trade anything, and then. Yes, but then they were able to trade, yes. So they already had a superstar on there, so they were able to do that. Same thing with the Brooklyn Nets. Kyrie and Kevin Durant came there on their own.
They traded for Kevin Durant. They traded for Kevin Durant.
It was a sign and trade. Yeah, it was D'Angelo Russell, okay.
Right, but I'm saying they gave up assets for Kevin Durant. Well, you can say okay, but they gave up assets for Kevin Durant. It's a trade.
I mean, it was D'Angelo Russell, Sim. Come on now.
D'Angelo.
What's your point? They gave up assets.
Sim, come on, it's D'Angelo Russell, bro.
He was an all-star.
Sim, okay. I'm not gonna argue.
Was he not an all-star? Did the Nets not make the playoffs that season?
Chris Middleton's an all-star, but No,
hey. Answer my question. Did the Nets make the playoffs that season?
Yeah, they were the 7th seed. Yeah,
they were the 7th seed. Was D'Angelo Russell an all-star?
I think he was injury reserve all-star.
Was he an all-star?
Yes, but come on now.
No, because you're gonna sit and say, "Oh, that's just D'Angelo Russell." Other people are saying that's just R.J. Barrett. When the Nets had just made the playoffs,
I think R.J. Barrett has a way more upside.
Hold up. You think? What I'm saying is,
we don't know.
What I'm saying is, it was. I'm giving you facts right now. I'm not giving you my thoughts. I'm giving you facts. The Nets traded D'Angelo Russell, who was an all-star on a team that they had that made the playoffs, and he was the leader of that playoff team. And they still traded him so that they can get Kevin Durant. That's all I'm saying.
Correct.
Hey man, but I think one of the key things is that you got to bring a guy in here on his own, and then you have a little more flexibility.
The Knicks didn't do that with Julius Randle.
I'm sorry, what's that?
He said the Knicks didn't do that with Julius Randle?
Julius Randle was more of a gamble.
It doesn't matter if it was a gamble or not. Did he end up being a top 15 player in the NBA?
Top 15?
He made the All-NBA team. The second All... Okay.
Don't bust a blood vessel, Sam. Don't bust a blood vessel.
Wait, hold on.
This season,
wait,
he was one of the top 15 players in the league this season. He made the All-NBA team. If you make the All-NBA team, that means you're one of the top 15 players.
Was Paul George a top 15 player this year?
I don't know. I probably.
Well, he was up there. Wait, so I'm about to get you because you don't believe he was a top 15 player.
No, I'm saying literally. No, I'm saying literally. When you ask me, was he a top 15 player? I'm saying I don't know. I have to look and see who was on the first, second, and third team. That's what I'm saying about Paul George.
Isaiah, look at it this way. You keep mentioning Paul George and all these players. Well, is that player this? Is that player that? Paul George right now is currently in the Western Conference Finals, bro. He's currently in the Western Conference Finals.
And leading.
So he's good enough. He's good enough to get there. So you can't question.
So we're just going to forget Kawhi Leonard.
But what I'm saying is he's a major piece. He's a major piece to a Western Conference championship team. The Clippers are in a position right now to win a championship. That's the position.
Again, but Josh, you're making my point more solid because Kawhi Leonard, guess what he did? He went there on his own. They didn't trade for him, so they had to access to trade to get Paul George.
They traded for Paul George.
Yeah, they traded for Paul George.
But Sim, I'm saying, but you're missing the point. What I'm saying, Kawhi Leonard went there on his own.
Okay, so
they had the pieces to trade to get a Paul George.
But and what we're saying is,
what we're saying Kawhi Leonard to go get another player.
What we're saying is, the Knicks signed Julius Randle, who became a top 15 player in the NBA.
Right. So he's our LeBron. He's our Kawhi in the sense of coming here and then we go out and get somebody to put with him.
What you say?
I'm gonna let you rock. I'm gonna let you go, Big Bob. I'm gonna let you go because we got more to get to, man. I got more to get to.
All right, man.
I can't be stuck on Damian Lillard. There's going to be a lot about Damian Lillard, man. We can't be stuck on Damian Lillard all night.
And we can't be stuck on RJ either, son. I mean, and I like him. I'm a huge RJ Barrett fan. I see the upside, but we don't know if he's gonna hit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I really like RJ Barrett, and I would love to keep him with someone like Damian Lillard, but it's just there's so much competition, and if you want Damian Lillard, someone's gonna have to go. Either RJ or Randall. Let's put it like that. One of those two are gonna have to go, I think, if you're gonna bring in Damian Lillard, and it makes it tough. I would like to put all three of them together, but it makes it tough.
Give up everything else. Everything else. If you do that.
Let me get to a couple super chats. Ghost Rider, big salute to you, my man. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Taco Nacho, he says Sexton, SGA, or Beal. My thing with those three guys, SGA and Beal, I don't think they're going to be up for. Obviously, they're not up for free agency, and I don't think you're getting them in a trade either, especially SGA. Maybe Beal at some point will be available, but especially SGA and Sexton. I really don't have much interest in Colin Sexton. I don't know. I don't know.
What?
And then he said the report is that Schroeder wants 100 to 120 million. Well, he's not going to get that from the Knicks. Then he's not getting that from the Knicks. D Jones, thank you for the super chat. He said trading RJ for Dame is losing the key to the next generation of stars like Zion and SGA coming here to play. We'd still need a third guy like Sexton or Levine, I think. I mean, that is, that's a good point. But, if you bring in, I mean, I guess the hope is, if you did trade RJ for Dame, you start a winning tradition so that people want to be part of that winning tradition. But that's definitely a good point. If you believe that, and I do believe that players attract players. If you believe that RJ Barrett is going to be one of the next superstars, then, that's a good point. Very good point. Go ahead, Nate.
Just on the RJ talk, he said, did you see his qualifier stats? He had 22, 5, and 8 of 14 from the field goal against Greece.
We did that in the playoffs against the Hawks.
Yeah, right.
I mean that's good. That's great against Greece. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying it's against Greece.
Hey, I'm just throwing it out there.
With Costas Antetokounmpo.
And Kemba went down.
Right. I would also say, Sam, who's Atlanta's third star? I mean, there's so many ways to construct a team. You can have a 1 and a 2 and the others just be on the same level. It doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3. There's so many ways to go about it.
I think when you guys are talking about the playoff teams, Josh mentioned the Clippers, talked about the Hawks, talked about the Bucks. All these teams have one thing in common. They all have a star player. The Knicks do not have a star player on their team. Randall is an all-star, but he's not a star player. We're going to have to trade for a star player in order to get to that next level.
Correct.
Where all these other teams have drafted their star player.
Correct. That's why we're talking about Dame.
Right. That's why we're talking about Dame.
Right.
Siobhan Robinson, thank you for the super chat. He said, yes. He said, you don't want to end up like Miami. All they had to do to get Harden was give up Hero, and they didn't, and they paid the price. Listen, these are the tough decisions that people like Leon Rose got to make. They got to decide, who do I give up? The next guy is Ben Simmons. I already know Josh's stance. And we've been through this a lot. You know my stance. I don't think Ben Simmons is on the level of Damian Lillard to be paying him $30 to $35 million a year.
Sam, let me just mention one thing. We already know where we stand on this topic, but let me just say something for all the people that doubt Ben Simmons and his ability, right? I get it. He had a terrible playoff series as far as he didn't want to shoot the ball in the fourth quarter. I totally understand that, and that's very valid. Those points are extremely valid. But for anyone who doesn't think that Ben Simmons can lead a team, when Joel Embiid hurt, he fractured his face, his orbital bone, or whatever the case may be. He missed 18 games. Do you know what the Sixers' record in that 18-game span was? 17-1.
Okay. But if it happened in the playoffs, what do you think it would be?
No, listen. I'm
you're
with
an
you.
Animal in the playoffs.
I'm with you. I just feel like at 24 years old, I feel like there's so much more there. And for a player that's an all pro, all defensive player, 4 years.
Are you giving the farm for Ben Simmons? That's the question.
I feel like you don't have to give as much for Dame, obviously, because Dame is a far superior player. But I feel like at 24 years old, there's so much more. This kid hasn't even hit his prime yet. And I feel like he's not one-dimensional, as Steph was saying last time. He can't shoot, but he's not one-dimensional because offensively... I didn't
say he was one-dimensional, Josh. I'm saying he hasn't shown a willingness to improve his shot. Look at Lonzo Ball. If I saw that type of trajectory with Ben Simmons, I would be on board. He's developing shooting. To me, he's decided that part of my game, I'm going to leave it. You can't put that much money in somebody who refuses to work on that part of their game. I don't see the trajectory. His free throw shooting was bad in college. It's still bad. No.
He was never.
We agree and disagree on that point. I still think at 24 years old, he still can grow. It's not all set in stone. When I was 24.
Do you think he's willing to? You think he's willing to?
Yes,
I don't see it. That's my issue. I don't see the willingness.
And at 24 years old, there's a lot of things we don't see, right? But I still think there's a long way for this kid to go. He's not even in his prime yet. And I feel like if he's able to be all pro without that, everything that you're saying, without that, at 24 years old, the sky's the limit for this kid. And I guess, for me, I think he would be an important piece to the team if the Knicks were to add him. We definitely would have to give up a lot, not as much as Dame, but I think he definitely can be a piece that we can use moving forward.
If he doesn't develop a shot, he's not going to help us. We're not getting to the championship if he doesn't develop a shot.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%.
He would have to do that. And if he does that, I'm on board. If he does that, I am on board.
I think there's a reason why a lot of people say this kid was supposed to be the next LeBron James, because you just see it. The physical gifts in this kid at 24 years old. And I'm not giving up on him yet. Not at 24 years old.
LeBron James,
if he was 30,
worked on his shot.
I understand that. At 30, if Ben Simmons was 30, it would be an absolute no for me. But again, at 24 years old, I still think there's some progress to go. I know he hasn't improved up on it until this point. He just needs the right system, and I think he can definitely improve on those things. And it's a big if. I totally agree with you. It's a big if.
So let me ask you, Josh. If we traded for Ben Simmons, where are you playing him?
So I like I said, I like Ben Simmons at the wing position, or even a forward, a point forward, because I feel like he can run the floor as a four, not at the point guard. I don't want Ben Simmons at the point guard. I want him as like as a four. I think Ben Simmons will probably, if the Knicks don't see Randle being a part of the future, because that's also a possibility, I think Ben Simmons can replace Randle. In my opinion, I feel like Ben Simmons can replace Randle. And of course, you have to got to develop the jump shot. You still got to put some other pieces around him. But I like Ben Simmons in that role, not at the point guard.
Do you think he could be a small ball five?
People, someone mentioned that to me. I don't see it.
That's the best way you can hide his shooting ability if you put him at the small ball 5, because he can rebound. He's a good passer. He's a good defender.
No, I don't see it with Tibbs. I don't see it with Tibbs. Not with Tibbs.
And then I think you take away from his strengths if you just do that. I think you take away from his strengths if you just do that. I don't know. All right, listen. You know what? He should have never started messing around with them Kardashians. He probably have a jump shot by now.
Okay.
Probably have a jump shot by now. You know. But he did. So there you go. I don't know. I'm not. I think he's a great player. I just want him to have that jump shot.
He gets a jump shot. It's over for the league.
And the thing is, that's a big need for the Knicks. It's a big need. Point guard, jump shot. It's a big need for the Knicks.
Yeah, what about?
Go ahead.
Did you throw Spider into this conversation at all?
No, I don't think he's on the trade market.
They just signed him.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the block. We're talking about players that we know are probably going to be on the block. I don't think he's going to be on the block.
Well, apparently he wants out.
Who said that?
They said interview with Dwayne Wade or something like that. They said that he wants out.
Yeah.
Oh,
He just signed. Why would he want out? That doesn't make sense.
I mean, I don't think him and Gobert get along well.
So they'll trade Gobert before they trade him.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
You know.
but if you don't want to be there, I mean, you know.
I don't think he's going anywhere, but I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be in Utah for a little while, at least till this contract is up, and then we'll see what happens there. Utah will do whatever they can to keep him, in my opinion. I think they'll do whatever they can to keep him. Next guy on this list, John Wall. Would you have any interest in John Wall at all? He's another high salary guy, so you're going to be giving up a lot of assets. I don't know if that means you're going to be giving up a lot of players that you covet, though, right? Because, you know, his stock is really, really low. And obviously he makes a lot of money, and you'll be paying him a lot of money for a lot of years. Right, John Wall's contract, well, not that many years, I guess. The player option really hurts it. Next season, 21-22, he makes $44 million. Then there's a player option for 22-23 at $47 million. So it's not as many years as I thought. That player option really does kind of hurt you. But would you bring in John Wall? Steph, I'll start with you.
I would not. I really don't want any players with a lengthy injury history. And it's not just one injury, you know what I mean, that they recovered from. It seems like John Wall is just always injured. He looked good, you know, when he did play, but it's too much managing his minutes. He can't play back-to-backs, and that might be different next year. But I'm not trying to. I would like to spend that money on somebody that will be available every game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Josh?
Houston would have to give up some major assets in order for us to take on that contract. If the Knicks are going to stay put and they're going to play the conservative route, I think this is kind of a conservative move because they can get some picks out of it. And then that $40 million can come off the cap in 2 years. So I think that's the only way I can see it happening. But as far as improving the team, I don't think this is an improvement because he can't stay healthy. He can't stay on the floor. So this is not a move that I would make in order to improve the team. It's just something I would do for cap purposes. I know he makes $40 million, but again, you know, the picks and everything that comes along with it, then I'll consider it. But no, it's a no for me.
Yeah. They'd have to throw some major assets in there, and I don't see them doing that. Nate?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they were to throw a first-round draft pick, you know, a couple years down the line for, you know, to take John Wall's contract, I mean, I think the Knicks would have to listen to it. I'm actually not opposed to the idea of getting him because, I mean, yeah, he hasn't been healthy. I totally understand that. But when he was healthy, he played well. He had a pretty good stat line, and he still got that speed. I mean, he's still able to get to the cup, and his shots, his jump shot looked like it improved a little bit more. So, I mean, again, we're talking a stopgap situation. It has to come with some kind of incentive for taking that huge contract.
Right.
I mean, I'm not doing that without that incentive. But if the Rockets were to say, "Hey, we'll give you a future first-round pick for freaking take John Wall's contract," I gotta listen to that. I mean, that's something that I would really be interested in. And like I said, the Knicks get a point guard for the next couple of years, and again, the hopes is you're going to draft somebody that you're going to keep, that you're going to grow and build with, or it's going to be Luca or somebody else, and hopefully once John Wall's contract ends, that person's ready to go. That's the idea. So,
Yeah. I mean, they'd have to give us something serious because,
sure.
I mean, the guy, gets out of bed and, breaks his foot. So,
but you would do it for a first round draft pick, right?
Breaks his foot. It depends on where we're looking at with this team. I'll say that. If they're looking at trying to elevate themselves into contenders, I wouldn't. Because like I said, he's just not reliable. If I was OKC, I'd take it in a heartbeat. They're gonna give me draft picks to eat his contract, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I just seen someone in the chat ask Andy Garcia, said, if you're talking about taking on contracts, why not take on Kemba? Well, I think the thing is OKC is not going to be giving up Kemba they're not going to give us a draft pick to take on Kemba. OKC doesn't care right now about paying him that $30 million. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to collect assets and draft picks themselves. So I don't think OKC is like, hey, we'll give you a first-round draft pick to take on Kemba's contract because we want to use that $30 million to sign this player over here. They're not doing that. They're not worried about signing big-time players. They're worried about collecting draft picks. So that I don't think OKC is willing to do that. And for the most part, Houston probably isn't either. So I don't see why Houston would want to move his contract maybe, but I don't think they want to give up draft picks because they're starting over too. So they probably just as well feel like we'll let it ride out. The only person on that list really that I'm interested in, well, two of them, Malcolm Brogdon, Damian Lillard. Those are two guys that I'm interested in on that potential trade target list. It's only two that I feel like, I don't know, but I agree with you, Josh, about Ben Simmons and the talent that he has. Does he have it in here? I don't know.
The willingness for him to shoot is my biggest problem. I mean, is the guy wanting to shoot? Because, Josh can say, this playoffs, he struggled, he didn't want to shoot. But I feel like that's Simmons every year. He doesn't want to shoot. Right. I don't know why.
That's what we're saying.
I don't know what his problem is.
I don't know.
I don't know if he's scared or he's just like. I mean, even in LSU, he didn't shoot the ball either. I mean, that was the biggest knock I had on him when he was drafted. The guy does not shoot.
Yeah, I don't know. White Falcon, thank you for the super chat. He said trade Randall and picks for a 6'10" elite defender.
Who's that?
Ben Simmons. Talk about Ben Simmons. Talk about Ben Simmons. And, you're going to lose all of that shooting. You'll get some great defense. We had great defense this year. We had no shooting. Well, we had shooting, but not at the volume that you would like. Let me get to a caller. Caller, you live. What's popping, man? What's your name? Where you from?
What's up, y'all? It's Al from Florida.
What's going on with you, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I know we talked about this guy already, but I'm an opponent of signing Lonzo.
Mm-hmm.
I would sign Lonzo because of his lineup versatility. He checks every box, I think, for the Knicks. Defensively, he's long. He can defend. He can switchable. I think people talk about him not being a true point guard because he was a top 5 player coming out of college because he took that UCLA team, which was not talented, and made them the team that he was. That's why he was a true point guard. It wasn't about scoring for him. It was about setting everybody else up. And I think he's a great, just a facilitator. And what the Knicks would struggle with a lot this year was getting easy buckets in transition. And he will help that tremendously as soon as he steps on the court with Obi, with RJ, with whoever else is running out there on the court, Mitch and all that. I think he checks every single box. And if they bring back D Rose, he's a guy that can slide off the ball and D Rose can play the point. That was something we couldn't do last year with Payne and Quickly. Quickly was a kind of a combo guard, and Payne was a pure point guard, but they really couldn't play off each other that well. And I think Lonzo would be the perfect fit for just the Knicks' trajectory, him being 23, him being young, but also playing with Randall before. And I also think that the Knicks can get another player alongside him that could be another impact via trade.
Okay. I mean, listen, I'm all for Lonzo Ball. I am. I'm all for Lonzo Ball. And I think it all comes down to, like I said earlier, what the Knicks feel about this team. If they want to continue with the slow and steady incline, or they want to try to expedite it. If they want to stay slow and steady, Lonzo Ball might be their guy.
But you don't have to be slow and steady with Lonzo.
Okay.
Because I have a second part to the Lonzo thing.
Okay.
We talked about, the Dame Lillard situation. It goes back to Houston. Houston had Russ and Harden, and they decided to blow the whole thing up. If I'm the Knicks and I already see that they probably are going to trade, if he does get traded, Lillard, why don't I go to Portland and say, what is it going to take for us to get CJ McCollum?
Instead of
now
Lillard?
You have a starting lineup of Lonzo, CJ, RJ, Julius, and Mitch.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And I think, and I know you talked about Luca like in the very, very beginning, but nobody thought that it was kind of odd that he got a rookie contract on top of having Emmanuel Quickly. He has a 4-year deal, and they paid him $2 million not to play this year.
Right.
He's in the future plans, I think.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm not saying he's not in the future plans. I just think there's a little bit more that goes into it than the fact that they gave him that long, gave him a 4-year deal or whatever it is. One, the reason why they paid him to help him get out of his, he had to buy out his contract. And two, the Knicks had to spend some money, right? Because they had to reach the salary floor. So they had to spend some money. That was one of the ways that they spent some money. You seen them spend money in other ways. They were signing players like crazy, right? Signing players like crazy and then waive them. Sign them and then waive them. They had to spend some money. So that was, I think, one of the ways that they spent money. And I also think that by signing him to that deal, they're all, the remaining 3 years on his deal are non-guaranteed. It opens him up to be traded if they wanted to. I'm not saying they're going to. They have the ability now to trade him during the draft if something comes available, and other teams might find that contract very, very team friendly, of course, and very team friendly and easy to work with. So I think that's part of it as well.
I do believe that. But also I think it's a blanket to if they have to, like in my CJ McCollum trade, I think one of their assets that's going to be in any trade offer is going to be Emmanuel Quickly. And so if the trade, I would say for CJ, the trade would be Emmanuel Quickly, Kevin Knox, maybe one of the first rounders this year, the second round pick, and then another first rounder.
Okay. Now, I'm going to say this. I do like the idea, if you recognize that Damian Lillard's on the move and you're not going to get Damian Lillard, you pivot and say, okay, you sign Lonzo Ball, then you get a CJ McCollum. I like that idea. I like that idea.
The best thing about it is you're not stuck. If you have an opportunity to get that star player, now you can package CJ with others or Lonzo with other. Right. So now you can get that star player.
Right. And CJ is making $31 million next year, $33 million in 2022-23, and $35 million in 2023-2024.
And he's a 20-point. He's a bona fide 20-point a game scorer.
Yeah.
And this is a team that needs shooting and shot creation and playmaking.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Hey, my man, I appreciate your call. You always call in with some good ideas and good thoughts, man. I like that. We might need to get you on the team to help us break some of these things down and come up with potential trades and stuff like that. You always got some good ones, man.
I'm always listening.
Hey, I appreciate you, my man. Have a good one.
All right. You too.
All right, peace. Yeah, that's definitely a thought right there. What do you think about that, Steph, Josh? What do you think about that?
I think that works. Like I said, if you're going to go out and get Lonzo Ball and make him the point guard, you got to have someone else, a wing or a two guard that can be able to knock some shots down and you can be able to run plays through. So I think that's a great scenario for the Knicks. I think that gets us to another level as well. With CJ being our second best, if not our best player. CJ and Randall, I like that a lot. And RJ, you still got him there. I love that.
Yeah. Caller, I'm going to get to you in 1 second, caller. Someone said, why would Portland do that? Diehard said, why would Portland do that? I think the idea, Diehard, is that if they're trading Damian Lillard, they're probably breaking down to the bare bones and ready to start over. Right? So if you're going to trade Damian Lillard, then you might as well trade CJ McCollum because both of those guys are under contract until 2024. Damian Lillard, his contract goes until 2025, right? And CJ McCollum makes between $30 and $35 million a year from 2021 to 2024. So, if you're going to trade Damian Lillard, you're starting over. And you might as well get rid of that big contract. And I think that would be the idea behind it. And you probably hear my alarm going off in the back. I don't know. Somebody did something, got my alarm going off in the back, but it'll be turned off pretty soon. Now, the next thing I want to get to is the draft. Right? Obviously, in the draft, there's going to be some point guards in the draft. I'm not a believer that Tom Thibodeau and the gang wants to, do anything with the draft as far as point guards are concerned. I think they want wings. They want shooters. I think they want a point guard in either free agency or through trade. Right? I think that's what they want. But there's always an option. Let me get to this caller, then we're going to talk about the draft. Caller, you're live. What's popping?
Hey, Sam, what's going on?
What's going on?
I haven't been able to call you, but back. Okay, now you talk.
Hey, you're breaking up. Hey, do me a favor, man. Call back because you're breaking up pretty bad. You was breaking up pretty bad. Give me a call back. Caller, you're live. What's popping? Your name, where you're from?
What up, son? It's your favorite MBK member, Kareem.
Kareem, what's popping with you, bro?
Ain't stuff, man. I was trying to keep cool outside. It felt like I was about to get thrown on the plantation. How it was out there.
It's burning up, man. I feel you. It's burning up out there. It's crazy.
I was looking like a big fat has-been out there, boy. With a messed up foot, limping and stuff.
What's going on with you, man?
I can't complain, man. All is well. I definitely enjoying the show, man. I'm gonna have to agree with my man Josh. I've been agreeing with him for a while now, and everybody's making some great points. But here's what we gotta look at:
Mm-hmm.
We go back and we analyze the Melo deal, right?
Right.
And we use that as this like baseline argument of keeping young players and we don't want to make that deal again. But as we've seen with the Celtics, where they had a GM that kept all these picks and never really pulled the trigger and really made the team better. And I don't want us to be a team, that's we just like hoard all these picks, man. And, we waste Randall's prime. And we, because if we talking, we got him, he's our star right now, and we can't have him. That's one thing we could take from the Melo trade. You have to put players around a star, and that has to be done, To be fair, they really never put anybody consistently good around Melo.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a bad argument.
Nah, I agree with you 100%. And like I was telling Isaiah, they had the ability, they had the money, and they had the ability to put some things around them. They just made bad decisions.
Yes, so, and like, as we've seen, we got a better front office too this time around. So, again, I agree with Josh on this, and I've been seeing a lot of his points, and I've been agreeing with it, as a recent. We have to. I want to get better. I want the team to get better, and I'm pretty sure the organization wants the team to get better.
Right.
I don't want it to be a situation where we scared to pull a trigger, and we made the playoffs this year, and then we don't make it next year. Because the way this offense is, it's super predictable. And if we keep the team similar and don't make it better, teams are going to shut us down.
Yep.
Like our offense, there's no levels to our offense. If you shut down Randall and you stop him from being able to pass, we're done.
No, I agree with you 100%. 100%. There's no, there's no variation. There's no creativity to the offense. It's very predictable, mundane and predictable.
Yeah, the only thing that, my bad, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and you need some players in here. One of the reasons why it was so predictable is because of the players that we had on the team. And I think Tom Thibodeau said, hey, this is the way we've got to run our offense. We'll do it right like this right now. And then next year, as we get more players in, we can expand what we do on the offensive side.
Yes, because one thing we got right now, we play hella fire defense.
Mm-hmm.
So he, that was the premise that he set. He was saying, he even said it when he was at the combine. Listen, I wanted that defensive culture. Now we need to add shooting. We need to add a distributor. We definitely need a point guard, man. And Chef Zay, nobody paid me to say this. I'm not a consultant for the Knicks. Stop hating. I'll see you in the chat.
Hey, Kareem, I appreciate you, man. Hey, don't forget to get that VIP ticket, bro.
Oh, I got that already. I'm about to
you got it? Okay.
Tonight.
All right, there we go.
I'm out there, baby. I'm hobbling with this messed up foot. I'm out there.
Hey, I can't wait, man. It's going to be dope.
Can't wait to see.
It's going to be dope.
Exactly. If I eat too much food, son, don't put me on camera. All right.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you go get yourself that ticket. The link is in the chat right now. Get your VIP ticket. You can go get your ticket and come right back here because we're still going to talk about these draft picks. Might not be as long as some of these other segments, but we're going to talk about these draft picks. Go get your tickets, man. That draft party is going to be fun. It's going to be dope. A lot of things going to be going on. We're going to play some live games. Obviously, we're going to have a live podcast. We might have some special, we got some special guests coming through. The entertainer's going to be there. He just told me he's going to be there. It's going to be dope, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you get there. Check it out. All right. It is July 29th. It's at the Flagship Resort in Atlantic City. You can stay at the Flagship. You can stay at the resort next door. No matter us, just be there. We want you to be there. All right, you can see who's going to be there with us. Legion of Knicks, Die Hard, Knicks and Bruisers, the Queen's Court. Julito is going to be there with us. It's sponsored by the Fantasy Resorts. You got beer samples by 7 Mile Brewery. It's free entry after 8 p.m., but you don't get everything with that. You know what I'm saying? You just get to come in and hang out for a little while. But if you want to get the full experience, then you need to get that VIP ticket. The VIP ticket, you get to enter at 5 p.m. You'll be part of the exclusive live podcast and live taping, live games. You get to network with all the MBK fam content creators. You get a happy hour buffet, and you get a draft beer from 7 Mile Brewery. It's going to be fun. It's going to be dope. The VIP ticket is $25, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you register right now. Make sure you register right now. The link is pinned to the top of the YouTube chat. All right. And there'll also be a link in the description of this video. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. All right. Now, let's talk about the draft and potential point guards that are in the draft. And I'm going to leave out the top two guys, right? Cade Cunningham and Jalen Suggs. I'm leaving them out because I just don't see that the Knicks are going to be moving up or trading up that high to be able to get either one of those two guys. So to me, I just don't see a reason to talk about the possibility of them being on the team. First guy I'm going to start with from Baylor, Davion Mitchell. All right, and I know we may not know a lot about all of these guys. I don't know a lot about all of these guys. So, just a quick opinion on what you do know about them. Right? Davion Mitchell. Any thoughts on Davion Mitchell? Steph, I'll start with you.
I'm glad I did my research today. I like him. He's been ranked pretty high, like in the top 10. I have seen places where he's ranked a little lower. I think that I can't find my notes. The reason why I think we may have a chance, I think we're going to have to trade up for him, but the reason why I think we may have a chance him is because of his age. Some teams may want a younger point guard, somebody that they can develop. And for whatever reason, 22 years old, maybe they may think he's too old and he may drop a little bit, and we may have the opportunity to go up and get him. I like his defense. I like his hustle. I like his experience. He's been in college for, more than a year or so. And I think he's a Tibbs type of guy. I think he would fit in with what we do. Now, will he get time on the team? We got so many young players as it is. I'm not so sure. But one thing I know about Tibbs and any coach, if they think you can help them win, they're going to find minutes for you.
Right. Exactly. Now, he's kind of, maybe a young Kyle Lowry. If you get a Kyle Lowry, maybe you want to try to get a Davion Mitchell and let him come up and learn under Kyle Lowry for a couple of years. The Knicks are definitely going to have to trade up to get him. Right? They're going to have to trade up pretty high. Yeah. Somewhere between 7 and 10, 7 and 11, maybe somewhere around there to get him. Could they get him at 12 if they made a trade with San Antonio? I don't know. Sacramento is rumored to be, shopping that 9th pick. Could they get him at 9? I don't know. This is why sometimes I wish that free agency came before the draft, right? Because now you know who you might sign or who you signed, and then you can go draft the player that, if you say, listen, we just signed Kyle Lowry, either we want to get his replacement in a couple of years, or let's go get wing players or this type of player, that type of player that's going to fit what we're trying to do around Kyle Lowry. Right now, you don't know what you might get in free agency. So now you're kind of caught. Do I get a point guard? Do we get wings and shooters? It's hard to say. Very hard to say. Josh, any thoughts?
So as far as the draft players, I haven't really been keeping up with the draft players as much as a lot of other a lot of people have been keeping up with it. But from what I know about Davion Mitchell, I do remember the championship game when Baylor played Gonzaga. And this guy, as a defender, he can definitely shoot the ball from beyond the arc. So I see a lot of 3-and-D potential. I think someone who can come in and contribute right away if the Knicks were able to trade up in the draft and go get him. So I would definitely like that pick if the Knicks had an opportunity to get him. Because he can contribute right away. And I like players that contribute right now, not just in the future.
No, I think that's the big thing about him is he can, at least we hope that he can come in and contribute right away. We hope that about Obi. It took a little while.
We did. Yeah.
Right? And that's what we thought about Obi, but it took a little while. Nate, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Davion Mitchell. He's a gamer. He's a winner. He is 22 years old, so he is a little bit older than your average rookie, like kind of Obi was. But I think this guy's ready. I think this guy's NBA ready. I think he's going to come in day one and just ball out. I see a lot of Donovan Mitchell in this guy. Mm-hmm. Very heady player, very good defender, good shooter. I mean, he really doesn't have a lot of weakness in his game. I mean, the only thing is you could argue is he doesn't have a high ceiling like a Cade Cunningham or a Jalen Suggs, but this guy is going to be a good player.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I guess you could say, he doesn't have the same kind of high ceiling as those kind of guys, but, sometimes you don't need those guys. Sometimes you just need guys that can come in and do the things that you need them to do to win because you already got, if you already got some guys that are stars or whatever you want to say, I think he can be a contributor. I'm telling you, if we get a Kyle Lowry and we still happen to move up, well, see, that's the thing. Again, I don't even want to say that. Because you got to draft your players before you even decide if you want to move. Before you even decide anything about free agency, you're going to be drafting players. So, if you get a Davion Mitchell or someone like that, Kyle Lowry could be a good mentor for that guy going forward because, they're going to be kind of maybe similar players. Another guy, Trey Mann. What do you think about Trey Mann? He's sophomore, 20 years old, just turned 20. A couple months ago. Small, when I say small, I'm saying small, skinny guy, athletic, kind of smooth. What's your thoughts about him?
I haven't got that far down to Trey Mann, but what I will say is that he's a little taller than they thought. They said he went through a little growth spurt. So he's about 6'4" now.
Yeah.
He's about 6'4" now. I don't really know much about him, Sam. I haven't gotten that far down, but just to know he will be within the Knicks range. They may not have to trade up for him.
Right. They wouldn't have to. I think they'd be able to get him probably at 19 or 20. Just from things that I've seen, and I didn't watch full games. I've watched a half or something like that. I can't sit down and watch every single game. I don't have that kind of time. But he kind of reminds me of Trae Young a little bit with his style of play, right? With the way that he's able to come off, he can come off screens. He can float it. He can pull a jump shot. He's got decent court vision, coming off screens. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can step back and knock down a jump shot. He kind of reminds me of Trae Young a little bit in the way that he plays the basketball game. Does that fit what Tibbs does? I don't know. But, if you're down there at 19 and 20, 19 and 21, he might be an option for you, guy that you look at. Josh?
So from what I know about Trey Mann, I know he's 20 years old from Florida. I see a little bit of a project. I don't see someone that can come in and contribute right away in the Tibbs type of system. I definitely at that 19, 20 range, I think he'll be there. And I just think it as another project player that we're going to have to, have on the roster to try to develop like a Kevin Knox or whatever the case may be. So if the Knicks are going to move up, I think, we don't have to look, you don't have to settle for players like Trey Mann, But I think, he's just going to be a project kind of player for at least the first couple years in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, probably so. At least that's what you think. You never know. Nate?
Yeah, he looks like a scoring guard. I kind of see what you're saying about the Trae Young comparisons. Again, it's really going to come down to, like, as our point guard, do we want more of a scoring point guard? Or are we looking for more of a point guard that's going to, like, be more of a playmaker kind of guy and be, the leader on the floor?
Right.
That's really what my thing is. I mean, obviously in today's NBA, a scoring point guard is more paramount for success. But I think with Tibbs, you think he wants more of a point guard that is a playmaker, but also a leader on the floor.
Right. No, I agree with you. Which is one of the reasons why I don't think they draft a young point guard unless they're down there at still have, the 21st pick or that 32nd pick. Then maybe they look at a young point guard. I do think they want someone who has a little bit more experience, which leads to better leadership abilities. Which leads me to the next guy, Jared Butler. All right, another Baylor guy. He's a guy that I think can have some leadership abilities, and the question would be is, I don't know who's better, Jared Butler or Davion Mitchell. Go ahead, Josh.
I think Mitchell has a little bit of a higher upside. It's pretty tough because Baylor, they had some guards. They had some guards in that championship game when I remember watching them play. But I really, really like Mitchell a lot. Not taking anything away from Butler. Mitchell to me, I just think that he's ready. He's ready for the NBA right now.
Okay. I think you don't think Jared Butler's ready? The Knicks they may not have to trade up to get him. He's 21 years old. He can shoot it from three. He shot 41. Now it's college 3-point line, but I'm sure he shot it deeper. He shot about 41% from three. Shot 47% from the field. I think he could be a solid, steady guy. He was a junior. He was been there for a couple of years, so he's got a little maturity on him. Another guy that has, some maturity. I don't know. What do you think, Steph?
And he's 2 years younger than Mitchell, I believe. I think Mitchell probably has a better upside, but I agree, Sam. I don't think there's much difference between the two. I think, if you don't have to trade up for him and you can keep your assets and get somebody that's not that much different than he is, I would do it.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about Sharif Cooper? That's my guy.
Yeah. Yep. I got him on the list. Now, and we know Jared Butler kind of has, an issue with his heart as well. So I'm pretty sure,
Okay.
there are going to be teams that are, do a heavy physical and really look deeply into it. And he could drop because of it, But I think he's very solid. I think he's a solid guy that can come in and contribute as well. What's his ceiling? Don't know. But I think he's a solid guy that can come in and contribute. They won a championship. You're bringing some championship college, but you're bringing some championship level experience to the team. Same thing with Davion Mitchell, but obviously you can get Jared Butler without having to make any trades and move up and still be able to get a wing player if that's what you're trying to do. I don't think the Knicks are going to carry that many rookies, but, the possibility is there. Now, here's a guy that I like. I just like his work ethic. Bones Highland and Sean Highland, I like his work ethic. He's scrappy, defender kind of guy. I think the issue would be him and Emmanuel Quickly maybe are similar guys. I think that might be the issue. But I like Bones, and I don't think the Knicks are going to pick the guy up. But he's a player, and I think the Knicks should at least look at the guy if the Knicks are drafting at 19 and 21. At least take a look. Obviously, if Jared Butler is there, I think you take Jared Butler ahead of Bones. If Jared Butler ain't there, then maybe you look at Bones. I think the kid is good. I think he's good, and I think he fits the culture that the Knicks are building. Is he a future point? Is he a future starter? I don't know. He's been an underdog though, so he's the guys at VCU. People didn't really get a chance to see him. And if they did get a chance to see him, he might be higher on people's list. We'll see what happens. Maybe he's going to move up the charts a little bit. But I like Bones. I like him. I don't know if you guys have, been able to see him play or not. But I like him. And any comments or anything? Go ahead, Nate.
Are you talking about the VCU dude?
Yep.
Yeah, I watched tape on him yesterday. Yeah, he looks nice. I mean, he's got a good shot. And he's decently athletic. You know what he kind of reminds me of?
Go ahead. We lost you, Nate. You muted yourself, Nate. You muted yourself.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Quickly a little bit. Watching him play, like he's got that ability to score and shoot at a high clip.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. I mean, he's got good size. He's got some defensive ability. I think he's very underrated, because he played for VCU. So a lot of people didn't watch him play, and they didn't play in the tournament. But yeah, I mean, if he's down there, if I was the Knicks, I would take a shot at him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if the Knicks were to draft him, and this is probably the reason why they wouldn't, because him and Quickly are very similar. I don't know, maybe he's a little more scrappy, but you'll look on the floor and you'll be like, is that Bones or is that Quickly?
Right.
Seriously. If you're watching them play, is that Bones or is that Quickly? Because they look very similar playing.
Very identical games. Very identical games.
Very, very close games. But I like the kid. I really do like him.
I'm not familiar with him. I heard his name, but I'm not familiar with him.
Yeah, and I like his nickname too.
Yeah,
is that his nickname? Bones. Did he skin and bones?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, Sharife Cooper. Steph, I'm going to leave that one to you.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to start out by saying that his jump shot needs some work. His mechanics need some work. But this guy, 20.2 points, 8.1 assists. He has a really good handle, good playmaking skills. He's kind of light. He's kind of light, 6'3", 180 pounds. But this guy gets wherever he wants to get on the floor. And but he's going to need a consistent jumper to really unlock his offensive potential. But I would bet that he'd be able to do that. He's shooting 82.5% from the free throw line. Usually when a guy is shooting that well at the free throw line,
so your stomach turning earlier?
They usually can develop a shot, right? So I'm really high on him. It's not somebody we would need to trade up for. The Ringer has him, at 19, and he has a good feel for the game as well. So that's somebody I would. Now, any of these cats gonna play under Tibbs, they're gonna have to snatch minutes.
Right.
That's the bottom line. You're gonna have to snatch them.
Probably not if we stay put. These guys might get some time out the get-go, but
probably. You think that kid, you think Cooper has all-star potential if he can develop a jump shot?
If he can develop a jump shot, I do. I believe he does.
Okay. Josh?
I ain't gonna lie, I haven't seen many of his highlights, so I definitely gonna check that out after the show, and I'll get back to you. I gotta do my homework.
Okay.
All right. Auburn.
All right. Yeah, at Auburn. Yeah. We'll see, and he should probably, I don't know, where do you think he might go?
20s.
Somewhere in the 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he should be right there in the Knicks range.
Yeah, for sure.
If he stayed another year at Auburn, he probably would be a higher draft pick.
Yeah. He should be right there in the Knicks range. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at and just looking at, I'm looking at Jared Butler and looking at the names, looking at Sharif Cooper, and just thinking about these guys. I seen someone in the chat say that Jared Butler could be like a Chauncey Billups. I mean, listen, if anybody comes in as like a Chauncey Billups, the way, the type of leader that Chauncey was, despite, I don't know what happened, with the whole thing with the sexual assault. I don't even want to comment on it because I don't know anything that happened with it. But as far as his basketball playing skills, he was a leader and he could hoop. If you talk about a guy, if you're saying Jared Butler could be a guy like Chauncey Billups, that's the kind of guy you want to groom to have in the future. And then if you're bringing in one of these other free agents or trade or whatever, then you're grooming a guy like Jared Butler to take over. That could be a win. That could be a win for your team. But we will see the way it's going to play out for the New York Knicks in this point guard situation. I think that's the very, very first thing the Knicks are going to attack as soon as free agency starts. If it's not done by the end of the draft, it's another reason why you guys need to go ahead and get these tickets, because if the Knicks make a trade during the draft, you want to be there when we start talking about it. You want to be there. You want to be there live. But, the Knicks are going to be on the prowl. And I think we're going to have an exciting offseason, though.
Hopefully.
I think we're going to have an exciting offseason. I think something's going to happen. I think, Leon Rose knows everybody. He's chirping. He's talking. I think I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I can't wait for the offseason to start. Let me get to another super chat here. As soon as it refreshes here. All right. Jan Rock, 1975 Jan Rock. He said, Josh, it's the same with Golden State drafted those high salary players. They were on lower deals before those good free agents signed. Well, they didn't draft high salary players. I'm not sure exactly what you're saying, Jared. Let me say it again. He said, Josh, it's not the same. Okay, he said it's not the same. When Golden State drafted those high salary players, they were on lower deals before those good free agents signed. And then he
what
said,
about the Clippers? What about the Clippers? What about the Lakers?
And he said Davis had a lower cap hit before he was traded. I get what you're saying, but it's the same. It's the same idea, though. I mean, you bring in players, and if you have a good front office, your front office should have the ability to bring in other players and find ways to get players in. We've seen it. We keep seeing it time and time again with teams around the league where they pay a whole bunch of money, $40 million for one or two players, and they still bring in other players. There's got to be ways to do it. And we've seen teams do it. There's ways to do it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of a breakdown of what the options are for the Knicks point guard situation. It's been a good 3-hour show talking about the point guards. 3-hour show. And it's that important because the Knicks don't have one. They have one guy under contract. That's Luca Vildos. So, we need some reinforcements there. Any last words before we get out of here, Steph?
Looking forward to the draft party. I'm looking forward to me, and I'm hoping that a lot of the those that are in the chat will come and join us. I mean, it's one thing to see the names, but it's another thing to actually meet you guys. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing you, Sam, again, and then the other NBA fam who I haven't met. And Queens Court this Friday, 5:00. We'll talk Olympics. We'll talk, trades, draft. Sim stole a lot of my thunder. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board for Friday. But I'll be ready, 5:00. Looking forward to it.
All right. Sorry about that, Steph. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's all right. Josh?
Salute everyone. Always a pleasure coming on here talking about the Knicks. I love this team. I just want to see them get better and get to that next level. Please, let's put ourselves in a position to compete. You can't compete if you just continue to sit on your money the entire time and keep it under the mattress. So please spend some money and let's put a winning basketball team out there on the floor, not just in the regular season but in the playoffs as well. So
no doubt about it. Let's do it. Shout out to Kareem. He says, "My room is booked." That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Kareem. Get out there. Let's get it done. Get your VIP tickets now. Putting the link in the chat one more time, and it's also pinned to the top of the YouTube chat, so you can leave out of here right now. Go ahead and go get your tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here. Appreciate your time. I plan on doing a couple other, 1 or 2 more shows this week, but of course I'm going to continue to put out, short videos about things happening, just keep you updated what's going on with the Knicks and give you my point of view. But I plan on doing a keep 'em or dump 'em this week. Kevin Knox probably going to be part of that. I don't know, something else. I'm not sure what yet. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here. Be peaceful. What?
It's NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.